podcast and made allegations that were shocking, let's just say. The allegations were that schools were intentionally hiding sexual assaults, destroying evidence, and obstructing police investigations. This was in regard to the Buffalo school system. Now, if you look up Buffalo school system, all the articles, all the headlines, all the news is in regard to this. So an interview on a comedy podcast erupted into a full-blown scandal, the likes of which, I mean, I haven't seen anything like this in my life, especially not one started like this. That's still unfolding to this very day. Today we're talking about how a single episode of a podcast did what traditional accountability mechanisms couldn't. The mechanisms that are in place not only in the school district we're talking about today, but also in most public school districts, and hopefully this is not a systemic problem.
The Buffalo school system has been intentionally not reporting the assaults of students, and then has also used the Buffalo Police Department's school resource officers to write reports and then had their influence over those officers to then close the reports.
Before we get to the podcast and what started all of this, we have to understand what was happening beneath the surface in Buffalo schools. In October of 2024, a high school girl twice reported physical abuse by her father to a school counselor. It wasn't a vague complaint, and the second time she showed the counselor cell phone video evidence of the abuse. In spite of the counselor being a mandated reporter, someone legally required to report suspected abuse, child abuse, whatever, the counselor did nothing 2 times. It wasn't until the girl showed up to school with visible injuries that the abuse was finally reported, which led to the father's arrest on assault and child endangerment charges. So you have to think about that for a second. A child has to show up bearing actual physical marks of abuse before a school official does what they're
It's supposed to be a cozy stream today. I didn't realize my cam was on. It's not supposed to be on.
literally. What if I told you that a comedy podcast did what police, prosecutors, and school administrators couldn't do? That 4 guys, mostly known for jokes and gun talk, uncovered a scandal that actually put children, real-life children, in danger. Now, I'm not saying they definitely exposed a massive, evil, systemic cover-up, but I'm also definitely saying it seems like they did. All right. Last month in April 2025, a detective from Buffalo's SVU appeared on the Unsubscribed podcast and made allegations that were shocking, let's just say. The allegations were that schools were intentionally hiding sexual assaults, destroying evidence, and obstructing police investigations. This was in regard to the Buffalo school system. Now, if you look up Buffalo school system, All the articles, all the headlines, all the news is in regard to this. So an interview on a comedy podcast erupted into a full-blown scandal, the likes of which, I mean, I haven't seen anything like this in my life, especially not one started like this. That's still unfolding to this very day. Today we're talking about how a single episode of a podcast did what traditional accountability mechanisms couldn't. The mechanisms that are in place not only in the school district we're talking about today, but also in most public school districts, and hopefully this is not a systemic problem.
The Buffalo school system has been intentionally not reporting the assaults of students, and then has also used the Buffalo Police Department's school resource officers to write reports and then had their influence over those officers to then close the reports.
Before we get to the podcast and what started all of this, we have to understand.
Oh, you can hear my keyboard? Interesting.
In Buffalo schools. In October,
It was supposed to be muted.
The girl twice reported physical abuse by her father to a school counselor. It wasn't a vague complaint, and the second time she showed the counselor cell phone video evidence of the abuse. In spite of the counselor being a mandated reporter, someone legally required to report suspected abuse, child abuse, whatever, the counselor did nothing 2 times. It wasn't until the girl showed up to school with visible injuries that the abuse was finally reported, which led to the father's arrest on assault and child endangerment charges. So you have to think about that for a second. A child has to show up bearing actual physical marks of abuse before a school official does what they're literally legally required to do. This, by the way, not an isolated incident. This is systemic. I never went to public school. I was homeschooled, but a lot of my friends felt safe around the counselors and teachers and things like that at school. It's supposed to be a safe spot for kids to go and learn and, socialize and do everything the kids are supposed to do. That is not what is supposed to happen. A few months later, in December of 2024, the Buffalo School Board passed a resolution calling for a formal signed agreement between Buffalo Public Schools and the Buffalo Police Department regarding school resource officers, which are the officers that are stationed in schools. So that's good. There should be officers stationed in schools just in case, kids may be kids, but they can still commit crimes and bad things can happen to people, and then they can come to school and officers can help. In spite of this resolution, the arrangement remained what officials now call a handshake deal, with no real written protocols for handling incidents. That could sound like bureaucratic nitpicking on the nose, but it does matter. Without clear protocols, standards, and operating procedures, there is no way to decide when to involve authorities or the police. Who decides what exactly is reportable and what exactly isn't? And most importantly, who the is accountable when things go wrong? Well, we don't have to wait too long to find out what happens when things go wrong. On February 11th, 2025, an incident occurred at Dr. Charles R. Drew Science Magnet School that would later become a central focus of the scandal. A magnet school, by the way, I'm not just saying random shit, that is a school that offers a more specific curriculum to attract a more diverse student body. According to initial police reports, a 30-year-old man named Shane Cronin from Illinois entered the school through a connecting door with the Buffalo Museum of Science. The report stated that Cronin approached a student and assaulted an assistant principal who intervened. Police arrested Cronin and charged him with burglary, assault, and child endangerment. So certainly a concerning incident, but what was reported wasn't the full story and wasn't even close to the full story. According to later allegations from Detective Richard High, aka Angry Cops, the actual events were significantly more serious. Cronin allegedly attempted to abduct 2 children, not 1, and school officials reportedly only told police about 1 victim, and most shockingly, they allegedly deleted surveillance video of the incident. What in the The complete story only came to light because someone at the school recorded the security footage on their cell phone, allowing investigators to discover the full scope of what happened. And this is where the story really begins, because there are systems that we know are designed to protect children that can fail, obviously, but when they fail this dramatically, this many times, sometimes it takes a comedy podcast to shine a light on what's happening. Skip ahead to April 26, 2025. An episode of the Unsubscribed podcast dropped with the ominous title, Your Kids Are in Danger. SVU Detective exposes Buffalo school system. SVU Detective is Richard High, aka Angry Cops. If you weren't familiar with him and you watched an episode, you probably would never expect to see a major expose of this scale come from that source, but being familiar with him, you wouldn't be surprised. We have Eli Cuevas, aka Eli Double Tap, a former military member known for his amazing storytelling. We've got Brandon Herrera, aka the AK Guy, a firearms and gun creator. We've got Cody, aka Donut Operator, a former police officer who creates law enforcement content, and the Fat Electrician, a military-focused content creator who makes really awesome, long, amazing historical deep dive videos about military topics. I've been on the podcast twice now. I love those guys. They're so nice, they're so kind, and they treat myself and friends with hospitality that I have yet to experience from any other group of content creators. On this particular episode we're talking about today, they were joined by Detective Richard High, a 13-year veteran of the Buffalo Police Department who had been with the Special Victims Unit for 2 years. In the first part of the podcast, High laid out several serious allegations. He said Buffalo schools were intentionally not reporting sexual assaults of students and other abuses, and school district attorneys and administrators were ignoring subpoenas and court orders. Also, surveillance video evidence of criminal incidents was being deleted. School officials were using influence over school resource officers to downplay incidents, and school personnel were being directed to not cooperate with police investigations. So the description there is from someone actively involved in the Buffalo police system and the relationship of that system with the Buffalo school system. That episode, as you can probably imagine, went viral due to the magnitude of the claims. And within the week, there was a ton of news articles that popped up as well. So it became mainstream immediately. And the Buffalo public school system didn't wait that long to respond. The same day, they issued a statement on social media calling High's allegations untruths and stating that they were prepared to vigorously address these untruths. We have to notice the language they're using here. It's not inaccuracies or misunderstandings, but rather untruths. The implication is that High was lying. The next day, High responded on Twitter X to the district's denial, providing additional details about a case where a student was allegedly raped at school, and the principal conducted her own investigation without formally reporting it. And there you go. The battle lines are completely drawn, and both sides are dug in, and things have gotten really bad for the Buffalo school system since all this came out. And it looks like they're just getting worse and worse and worse. One thing that's interesting and honestly very scary about this entire situation is that this isn't something that's unique. This happens a lot. This type of thing happens a lot, and generally people have to go to traditional mainstream news outlets or have something maybe go viral on Facebook or whatever to actually have some form of change. Because if the powers that be don't want something to happen, if you don't have a voice, then it's just how it works. And it's how it's always worked until now, to be honest. But it's also fucked up because there's no way that this is the only place that this is happening. There's no way that this is the only place where people aren't being listened to, and it takes a comedy podcast to come in and like make change. It's unbelievable. I think it was genius that High took these allegations to his friend's podcast instead of to a local news station. What would have happened? A 2-minute segment on the evening news and then a carefully worded newspaper article that placed his claims alongside official denials from the Buffalo school system? Maybe that would have happened, or maybe nothing at all would have happened. On top of that, the episode centers on High's direct experiences as an SVU officer, giving his allegations immediate and instant credibility to viewers.
I can't tell you the amount of shit that I have to go through in order to go to a school, talk to a principal and say, what did the kid tell you? And they'll go, I can't talk to you. I've got to talk to my lawyers.
It's not like me talking about it or, some random Joe Blow talking about it, some commentary channel. It's an actual guy involved directly who has experienced things like this for his entire career. On top of that, the level of emotional authenticity that these guys showed, genuinely they care about this. There's no arguing with it.
It's in your job to protect the kids. I can't tell you how many... I'll tell you another one. I had a girl that was, man, I'll get fucked up.
All in all, the whole thing was the opposite of a carefully crafted media appearance. It's just a raw thing that resonates with real, actual people who don't like it when this type of stuff happens. And they don't give a if their tenure is going to be up at their school system or whatever. It is only through a comedy podcast that this could have come out. Piggybacking off that point, the story might have ended with the school district's denial if not for the massive public attention that the podcast generated and the relentlessness of the unsub audience. Within 48 hours, the narrative shifted pretty dramatically. On April 28th, 2025, just 2 days after the podcast aired, the Buffalo Board of Education held a special meeting where they spent nearly 3 hours in executive session behind closed doors.
Tonight, the Buffalo Board of Education staying behind closed doors, spending almost 3 hours discussing the shocking cover-up allegations made over the weekend.
When they emerged, board president Dr. Kathy Evans Brown announced, "The BOE is initiating an independent external investigation and the results will be prepared publicly." It's exactly what the she sounded like. So yeah, just a couple days later, that seems to be a significant shift from the initial blanket denial of untruth. Big jump, gotta say, big jump. Hey man, that's an untruth. Just kidding. 2 days later, I've slept on it. I think we need an independent investigation. That does not happen without extraordinary pressure, okay? So congratulations, Unsub Podcast and audience of Unsub Podcast. You guys did some badass shit there. The Buffalo Police Department also issued a carefully worded statement acknowledging the situation, drastically different from the police district. They said, "The Buffalo Police Department is aware of the concerns raised by one of our members regarding the handling of incidents involving student safety. We are committed to conducting thorough investigations to ensure transparency and accountability." You have to notice that they didn't say, "He lying! Untruth! They didn't say they disciplined him. They didn't say his claims were false. They acknowledged concerns and committed to transparency and accountability. You know, I would say that suggests there's something that's actually there and the police department is aware of it and trying to fucking deal with it. And meanwhile, the Buffalo Police Benevolent Association, which is a police union, issued a statement supporting High, calling him a passionate detective in the Buffalo Police Department who prioritizes the well-being of the city's most vulnerable victims. That's pretty significant as well. Police unions in general, do not typically rush to support people who make unfounded allegations against powers that be. The Erie County District Attorney Office also weighed in, stating that they were committed to a thorough investigation and prosecution of any crime against a child, and that they continue to handle any allegation of sexual assault, child abuse, and tampering with evidence with the utmost seriousness. And fortunately, by early May 2025, the Erie County District Attorney's Office announced that Shane Cronin, remember him, the guy from the Drew Science Magnet School incident where he tried to kidnap 2 children? They announced that he had been indicted by a grand jury on multiple felony charges, including second-degree attempted kidnapping and attempting to lure a child. So that supports at least some aspects of High's allegations about the severity of the incident that was being downplayed when he broke that in the Unsub podcast. Since High's initial appearance on the Unsub pod, he has been on multiple other podcasts and back on the Unsub podcast, turning a one-time whistleblow into a sustained campaign of attrition against a school district that's f***ed up. The Buffalo School Board, meanwhile, has worked to identify a firm to conduct the independent investigation that they commit to allowing, with a focus on the Drew Science Magnet School incident. And it seems that they are expanding the scope of the initial planned investigation to include additional allegations that have come to light. It's crazy. You go from instant denial to action. Weird. That's ridiculous. It's not a year-long investigative journalism project that slowly built up pressure. It was a podcast episode. It created instant public attention, and institutions cannot ignore it. Nor can they do anything to fucking stop it. Overall, the public response to the allegations from the Unsub pod were immediate and intense. The original podcast had 16,000 comments, many from concerned parents and community members who are, affected by the Buffalo School Board and District. Social media in general sort of blew up with discussions about school safety, mandatory reporting, and accountability, and how this hopefully isn't happening elsewhere. This is just like the sort of hornet's nest. Beyond just online chatter from the public response, real-world action actually followed. Bury the Violence, a community organization led by Karima Morris, herself a graduate of the Charles R. Drew Science Magnet School, launched a petition calling for immediate security and safety reforms following the podcast's revelations, including installation of secure entry systems, upgraded surveillance systems, establishment of a centralized security communication hub, development of a communication strategy for incidents, and comprehensive review of safety policies across all district schools. This is f***ed up, dude. I have a candy company. It's a food manufacturing business, and we have all of our operating procedures just laid out so clearly. So if the FDA comes, we don't get in trouble because we actually care about what we're doing. It is mind-boggling to me, and obviously that's not a valid comparison, but you have to have rules laid out. You have to, because there's oversight. We respect oversight. When you hear about a story like this, she's calling for these things, like installation of secure entry systems. You mean like doors that lock? They don't have that? They don't have surveillance systems? Like, why do they need this stuff? This stuff should already be there. It's f***ed up that they're allowed to get away with this, because it's a government, all right? I've been telling y'all this shit my whole life. A private school would have been shut down instantly if anything like this happened, but no. Public school, government money, bureaucracy. You just kind of do whatever the you want. You can be evil, and who's going to stop you? Corruption is good for those who are involved in the corruption. Another particularly interesting thing is how traditional media, especially media local to that area, responded to the story. Their coverage was pretty revealing. Some local news outlets were more skeptical of the format than of the allegations themselves. WKBW anchor Ed Dranch, for instance, commented that the podcast seemed ridiculous and crazy.
So I'll be honest with you, I started watching this podcast and my first thought was, this is ridiculous.
What is this?
This is crazy. I'm listening to all these guys burp and just be absolutely foul.
His focus was not on whether or not the claims from High were true in regard to the school board and district in his local area, but on whether the podcast was crazy and insane. These crazy kids and their wild podcast.
You're looking at like the White Claws on the table.
And
is
so
alcohol involved here?
My
Where
first
are they?
thought is, okay, this can't actually be real. But then when you actually listen to the allegations, you unpack what he's saying.
Other outlets prioritize the official response from the Buffalo School Board over the allegations. WGRZ initially published the school district's denial before reporting on the actual allegations, waiting nearly 24 hours to publish details about High's claims. The experts say, I generally do trust the experts, by the way. I'm not doing that meme, all right? The officials say, this is a clear example of privileging institutional voices over the voices of whistleblowers. This is a classic local news L. Others focused on the messenger instead of the message itself. Buffalo News spent significant space discussing High's controversial history as a police officer rather than focusing on the allegations. This included the mentioning of a previous suspension for social media posts, which is like, what? What about all the school board stuff, though? I mean, sure. Luckily, as the story has developed, the local news has begun actually sort of taking action, and their media coverage has evolved from the initial skepticism to a more substantive investigation. WGRZ conducted a data investigation that revealed 17,722 police responses to Buffalo schools since September 2021, which provided factual support for some of High's claims about the frequency of incidents in schools. 17,000 since 2021. That's a lot. That's more than one a day, I'm pretty sure. That's a lot. That seems like way too many. Way too many. Anyways, initially things were pretty hairy, but it seems like this whole thing is turning into a really good story, and it's going to have an actual positive, heavy outcome. There has been some concrete changes already. For example, the charges against Shane Cronin, the man that was involved in the Drew Science Magnet School incident that I talked about earlier. That guy's as he should be. Oh, and in case you didn't remember, he was charged with misdemeanor assault. A misdemeanor. Initially. Why is that? Why did they charge this guy trying to kidnap children with misdemeanor assault and then indict him from a federal grand jury on multiple felony counts of kidnapping? How does that change? How the does that change? Why'd that change? Is that a coincidence? Is he part of the school board? Like, what's going on? Why did a podcast have to make that change? If the podcast had never come out, that guy would just have a couple months for his misdemeanor. What? Also, one of the first things we mentioned was the mandatory reporting failure from the school board. Public awareness of mandatory reporting requirements has increased dramatically as a result of the podcast as well. Buffalo Teachers Federation President Rich Nigro publicly emphasized that anybody who's working within a school, if you're working with children in the Buffalo public schools or in that capacity anywhere, you are a mandated reporter. So this is a good public reinforcement of legal obligations that someone shouldn't have to be reinforced to do, but thankfully the podcast put pressure on school employees to follow the law. Anyways, I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad that the Unsub podcast exists. I'm glad that these dudes did this, and I'm glad that all this came out. And I'm glad that they wanted me to shed some light on this. I asked them if they wanted to. Obviously, I don't want to like co-opt this. It's a very real, serious thing. So any way that I can help, I would suggest all of you go check out the Unsub pod, watch the original episode, check out Richard High, check out all the guys and see what they're doing on Twitter. That's where most of the shit is happening right now. And just go help out. There's not really much you probably can do other than just pay attention to what's going on and how the school board is reacting. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and yeah. Also, have you ever wanted to be a YouTuber so badly that you've considered sacrificing yourself, risking your own life at the altar of the algorithm in exchange for the almighty view? Most people would say, no, I want to have a family and a wife that I love and have a house and a couple things and just kind of enjoy my life, and I don't really care about materialism or numbers that much. Shut up! You have to do this type of stuff. That and jelking and pilking. Only thing that matters in life is having a long and a lot of views. If you don't have either one of those things, you might as well be really low in a caste system. Let's pretend like we're in 19th century India. No, this is getting dark, I'm sorry. People do this, they do that. We live in 2025, not everyone is rational, and a lot of people really want to be super ultra famous, and they want to use their stupidity as a way to gain influence and views and shit using platforms like YouTube. There are a lot of people who have completely started careers off of just being stupid. Not even entertaining, but just stupid. Sometimes you can be stupid and entertaining and you can build a career, but there's being dumb. Seriously, being dumbasses.
Mikhailo Palikov from Arizona was arrested back in March. Police say the 24-year-old recorded himself leaving a can of Diet Coke on North Sentinel Island.
No offense to this guy, he's kind of really laid out a lot of negativity there at the very beginning. I think this is really stupid, and I just feel kind of, I don't feel bad for him at all. But yeah, the North Sentinel Island, you've probably heard of it. I've made a video about it before. It is an island, an uncontacted tribe lives there, and they don't like it when people try to contact them. Recently, a small creator known as Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov of the channel Neo-Orientalist decided that his way of breaking the mold of small travel vloggers and content creators who thrive on tourism, his way of breaking that mold was to travel to a little island called North Sentinel Island.
After posting this to his fans, Polikov traveled for 9 hours to reach North Sentinel Island, which sits between India and Myanmar.
I don't know if you know anything about North Sentinel Island, but it's a small island with an uncontacted tribe that has the technology of bow and arrow, and they like shooting those bow and arrow at people a lot because they're a small tribe and idiots like Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov go there. So this is insane. The story is ridiculous. North Sentinel Island, if you don't know anything about it, is the island straight out of the TV show Lost. It's a wild and untamed jungle island with just a few differences, all right? There's no extremely sinewy, ripped white guy walking around leading the show. The main character isn't a sinewy, ripped white guy, who I don't know his name, but I can see him so clearly in my head, that sinewy, ripped white guy in Lost. You know what I'm talking about? There's no white polar bears. That was dumb as f***. And a bunch of the other shit that was stupid as f*** from that island. All the good parts of the island are the realistic parts. The main difference is that we know where North Sentinel Island is, my friend. Maybe there's more than one person. There could be a person watching this, 2 people maybe. Comment down below your full name, address, social security number, and what you had for breakfast, and I will go through and I'll read every single comment today. Yeah, so we know where this island is, unlike the island from the terrible television show Lost. Anyways, it is a small island in Southeast Asia off the southwest coast of the Andaman Islands in the Bay of Bengal. If you don't know where that is, neither the do I, but we have a map here for you. Is this an episode of Slop 60? This isn't that sloppy. It's kind of sloppy. Slop 60. Welcome to another episode, Slop 60. The horn of Jurgen Slop Collar. The horn, the chastity belt of Jurgen Slop Slinger. Also, other differences between the Lost Island and the North Sentinelese Island. There's no smoke monster. I don't believe it's an onomatopoeia for purgatory. It's not an It's not purgatory, okay? And there's no Dharma initiative with secret bunkers and an Asian guy. It's populated by the Sentinelese people, not the others. And there's a lot of other differences. There's actually almost zero similarities now that I think about it. Now that I feel like an idiot even bringing up that godforsaken shit fest of a show. There's a bunch of pictures of the people and they're like, ah! They get super excited. It seems like really fired up whenever people visit. I don't know if it's anger or what kind of level of excitement it is. They say through brain scans that excitement, anxiety, fear, all very similar in the brain. It's just how your body, how you react to it, how you react to the physical stimulus is what really sets you apart. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell what these folks are feeling without seeing a damn brain scan out there. I'll tell you what. I mean, this guy in the middle right here, he looks like he's having an excellent time. But the guy on the far right, he looks like he's about to sling an arrow. All right. And then the guy on the far left, he looks like he's waving to his family. And the guy just to the right of him looks like he's actually probably has a big cartoonish overcoat and he's flashing himself in a park. That's what he looks like to me. Not to poke too much fun of the Sentinelese people. I mean, they do launch arrows. I think that's pretty cool. They defend themselves for God and country. They're extremely patriotic. I don't know. I wonder if they voted. The Sentinelese people are perhaps the last uncontacted people on the planet, and they are currently living in the technological age we would classify if we were playing a game like Civilization as the Stone Age, the pre-Neolithic era. Although Survival International argues that this is not the case because they use tools made from stone, wood, bone, and metal recovered from shipwrecks, which technically puts them in the Iron Age. I'm not exactly sure, but they didn't get to the Iron Age because they refined metal. They Minecrafted their way through it. They found a chest with some iron tools, all right? That's what they did, okay? Interesting fact, on top of that, many other uncontacted tribes have acquired metal through intertribal trade without ever having to meet an outsider. So it's happened before. These folks are like the last real bastion of just pure uncontacted, just wildness. It's cool. Now, you can't go to this island. You can't just go there. You can't go hang out. You can't just take a little trip, you know? Take a little trip down to the old resort on North Sentinelese Island. You can't do that shit. It is due to the hostility from the North Sentinelese people to those who try to make contact with them. They're really angry and they have bows. Or really excited, rather. I shouldn't say they're angry. That's unfair. But they're super excited, and their way of expressing excitement is by shooting people with bows and arrows and throwing spears at them and killing them. Visiting the island is actually a crime. It's illegal. India does not allow access to the island or the Sentinelese people, whether you wish to see that as protecting them from us or protecting us from them. I don't know. It still, regardless of that fact, does not stop Americans with an inflated sense of self-importance and a deflated meatus, penile shaft, aka small penises. It doesn't stop Americans from breaking the law and trying to engage with these Sentinelese people. John Allen Chow was an American missionary and travel blogger who shared his travels on his Instagram and his website, and he was killed by the Sentinelese people back in 2018. We did a video about this not that long ago. There's plenty of content on it if you want to learn more. He traveled to the island in an attempt to convert the Sentinelese people to Christianity, believing this to be the last bastion of Satan, Satan's last stronghold, which is a crazy, zany, wacky, whimsical thing to do. Let's be real, that's crazy. Also very sad, because he seemed like kind of a nice guy. A lot of these travel people are really nice, but they're also a little funny, I guess you could say. John actually paid fishermen to take him to the island, and they were later arrested. He died, they were arrested. He was shot a lot with bows and arrows and stabbed, I'm sure, and who knows what else. The story of John Allen Chow didn't deter the small-time creator we're talking about today, Mikhail. He's another American attempting to make contact with the Sentinelese, but instead of this time, he's not trying to convert the last bastion of Satan to Christianity. He's just trying to get YouTube views, man, which is pretty epic. Pretty epic. He's an aspiring Lord Miles, which I don't know if Lord Miles has made it to North Sentinel Island yet. I don't know if he's made it out there yet. Because we get a fact check on that. I think I saw something about that on Twitter, but I'm not exactly sure. This feller, Mikhailo, has 2.8 thousand subscribers and only 6 videos. 6-part series titled Taliban-Controlled Afghanistan Through American Eyes. Genius! Brand safe! Big money! No risk! All those things are not true. But he hangs out. He's got a damn M240. That's crazy. Where'd he get that at? I wonder where he got that from, guys. I wonder where the Taliban got that from. I wonder how they got that. Why would the Taliban have an M240? That doesn't make any sense. Seems like Mikhailo's journey to North Sentinel Island was supposed to be the next series that he was trying to record, but he was arrested by the Andaman and Nicobar Island police. He made his attempt in October 2024 using an inflatable kayak, but was reportedly stopped by hotel staff. So this guy sucks. He couldn't even get fishermen to take him. He was trying to float in an inflatable kayak to North Sentinelese Island. Why not just let him go? You know what I'm saying? Why are they stopping him? I guess because it's a crime, but it's a self-solving issue. Maybe it's fucked up to like torture the North Sentinelese people. This dumbass also made another attempt in January, which also failed. This time he used an inflatable boat with a motor to travel the 35 kilometers to the island from the main Andaman Islands. Got a little bit of a map here for you guys. He spent an hour blowing a whistle off the shore to attract the Sentinelese attention. He landed for 5 minutes. He left his offerings of coconut and a Diet Coke on the shore. He took some sand, recorded video, then returned to his boat so he didn't get murdered or killed. He was arrested only 2 days after visiting the island where his GoPro footage was reviewed, and he documented all of his own crimes. You know, you can't really post that and not just go right to jail. I feel like that's kind of not going to work out that well. So what this guy did is incredibly dangerous, clearly, and irresponsible. Jokes aside, for himself and for the safety of the Sentinelese people. I mean, if he defended himself, tried to defend himself, and it's just so dumb. Like, it doesn't make any sense unless you can. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to defend it anyway. Maybe they're on WhatsApp, though. Hit them up on WhatsApp. See if you can arrange a meet, and then that would be the only way to make it work, I feel like. Maybe WeChat. Maybe Billy Dylan. Also, he could have infected them with all sorts of horrible diseases that the rest of the world have been dealing with for generations, and these uncontacted people on this isolated island have never come into contact with it, wiped them out completely. A lot of people are probably asking the question, why isn't uncontacted? Why don't they let us come and build McDonald's? Well, there's a few good reasons I've got. Obviously, this is a group that is notorious for their hostility. They killed John Chow and they shot arrows at helicopters that wanted to just check on their welfare, and they easily could have done the same to Mikhailo. They've rejected attempts from the outside world to integrate with their culture, and so the outside world has decided it best to leave them alone and preserve their way of life if they choose so, which is beautiful. I kind of like that. I feel like if they didn't have bows, they would probably be there'd probably be a resort there. So, you know, what is that? What amendment is that of the Constitution? Due to their chosen isolation, they have no exposure to modern society. They have no brain rot. They have never seen a meme. How sad is that? And more dangerously, like I mentioned, modern diseases. Anybody who knows anything about the discovery of the Americas likely knows about the devastation that Europeans brought with them when they began to interact with the native North Americans. Europeans brought a lot.
Reverse cope. You are not that unique. That is reverse cope. You'll always be able to find somebody like you. But I understand people being exhausted with relationships and searching for a partner. That shit is tiring as fuck. No cap. But that's definite reverse cope. Everybody can definitely find a partner that's compatible enough to keep them happy for the rest of their life. But nobody wants to put the effort into dating anymore, unfortunately. Not even the people that are supposed to be getting courted. Dating seems rough out here, boy.
A lot of diseases that the native people had no immunity to. Measles, mumps, chickenpox, smallpox, diphtheria, influenza, pneumonia, typhoid, all those things. And this would, I assume, be the same case for the people of North Sentinel Island who have never come into contact with these horrible diseases that we've built our immunities to for generations. It would be terrible to bring the Sentinelese people the beta variant of COVID-19. That would be really bad for them. Because I think there's only like 100 of them or something. 40 people maybe? How many people are on North Sentinel Island? 50? 45? They gotta be inbred, right? Between 50 and 150. Some estimates are as high as 400 or as low as 15. Come on, get your shit straight. Which is it? Those are drastically different numbers. Somebody sent a predator drone over there. Let's get the real numbers. Get a FLIR out there. Just don't drop any missiles or anything. I'm not saying that. I just want to know how many there are out there. That is a limited blood pool, though. That is a limited pool of genes. I'm not sure if that works or whatever, but they don't look like the happiest. And yeah, it seems like Mikhailo was not considering any negative outcome other than him getting a banger-ass video. I seriously doubt he was thinking of any of that. He brought them Diet Coke as an offering. Mikhailo's vid isn't shit compared to what the Nelk Boys did in December 2024. You know about the Nelk Boys? Winners, geniuses, high IQ, geniuses, upper deckies, and stuff.
Cheers. I do want to say, Chief, you're an absolute beauty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Well done, you are, Chief. Thank you.
They contacted a group similar to the Sentinelese, only on an island near Fiji rather than India. The Nelk Boys met up with Forrest Galante, a world-renowned wildlife biologist and TV host. That's according to his about on his YouTube channel. I don't actually know if any of those things are true, but he seems like he knows what the monkey's talking about. I think he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. And they went to meet up with a tribe of people that have supposedly only interacted with one white person in 30 years, which has got to be, that is not that many white people in a very long period of time.
They've seen one white person in the last 30 years. His name's Brett. He's out on one of the boats. We're gonna meet him in a minute. Okay?
What?
Yeah. You're remote. You're out here.
The actual visitation of the tribe happens later in the Nelk Boys video, 21 minutes into their 40-minute epic video, and 8 minutes into Forrest Galante's 16-minute video. That stressed me out. Watching that little clip right there, that stressed me out right there, dude. Holy shit. As soon as they get off the boat, they disembark near the shore, not exactly on it. They become surrounded by men and children from the tribe armed with bows, spears, and clubs. I assume they're trying to assert dominance or intimidate them, something like that. They're hitting the water, and they grab Steiny off the bat, which is awesome. Everyone's least favorite character of the Nelk Boys. Not really, I don't know. They're welcomed into the village, which it doesn't seem like the most welcoming welcome party ever. Just saying, I'm kind of used to Southern hospitality. That's like that's a different level of hospitality, I've got to say. All right, guys.
Holy fuck. I don't even know where they're taking us. Even the kids scare me.
Yeah. Holy Relic, save me. Nothing happened. That sucks. They're welcomed into the village and they have to prove that they belong by hunting, which is epic.
In order to stay here, he wants us to feed his village. We got to get flying foxes for dinner. You should tell him about the pig. He doesn't care you got a pig. He wants to see you hunt bats to show him that you guys are capable of living here.
They brought a pig as an offering, but the village chief doesn't give a single He only wants to hunt bats. And the tribe hunts with traditional tools, but the Nelk Boys bring a shotgun, which is awesome. They're already enjoying the luxuries of modern society.
When we give them a weapon, you guys can save hours of your time if you use shotgun.
We had an insurance policy. I didn't trust you boys.
All right, let's get the shotgun out.
There's a Donald Trump USA chant.
Donald Trump USA! USA! Donald Trump USA! Donald Trump USA!
They tried kava, which the Nelk Boys describe as being a drug/drink that is like cocaine at first and Novocaine second, so it makes you wired, I guess, and then makes you numb after.
What would you compare it to if you...
It's like cocaine first and then Novocaine after that.
It's gonna be a lit, right?
Yeah.
Kava is very popular around the world, especially in Oceania and the Pacific Islands. They give the chief some Howlerhead bourbon, and they cheer him on when he chugs it, which a lot of this is so funny, and I feel like I shouldn't laugh because it seems bad.
Man.
There, give him some of that. There we go.
Oh yeah, chief. Chief! 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 Oh, chief! Chief!
I think that's how COVID started, being it bad. Pretty sure. At least that's the story. Or is it Wuhan lab? I'm not sure what the story is. It's not a straight story. It's not an easy one to follow. You'd think it'd be easy to follow, but it's really not. Is that right, Holy Relic? Then, to make things right with the tribe, they hand out packs of cigarettes and they pass around the vape, which I've got to say, this is way better than the Mikhailo, whatever the this is, you know, there's a little bit of clickbait in this. These folks got a nice ass house and stuff. This is like a real legit thing that's going on here. It's just crazy, dude. I love that. You know, everybody can enjoy the culture of America if they want. That is such American culture, though. Vaping and upper decking.
So you boys had a pack an upper decking.
Now, I've got to say, it is quite controversial. People are saying, why are you doing this?
Fuck me, I've just been given a 24-hour shift by one of my viewers. Oh boy. God damn it. 24-hour unpaid shift incoming. Two weeks earlier is diabolical work.
You're bringing them horrible shit. The clip on Twitter got a lot of backlash. Not that much backlash on YouTube. The comments on Twitter, very, very criminal because they're, you know, giving they're portraying them as this crazy uncontacted tribe that's never, it's super dangerous, uncontacted tribe, 30 years, no white people. 30 years, no white people. Here, hit my vape. That's like how they're portraying it. And people don't like it. They're saying they corrupted them with American degeneracy, which absolutely seems true to me. It seems funny. It seems like a skit, to be honest, in like a movie or SNL or something like that. But no, it's actually real, and that's the Milk Boys. They're epic winners. After all this went down in the video, they're informed that the tribe would likely fully initiate them, which would take between...
I'm sorry for your loss.
Honored by the gifts, the fact that you were able to get baths, the fact that you brought him cigarettes and a pig. You've now moved from first rung of the tribe to full initiation. It's going to take about a week to 2 weeks.
And then they just leave after one day because they just wanted, I guess, to get they were just glad that they didn't get killed because I guess they thought that they were going to get killed by the title. I'm not sure. Dangerous tribe. They didn't seem that dangerous to me. After the very first thing, it seemed like they were extremely friendly. They were just hitting vapes with the, you know, some white boys from America. So I don't know. I'm not a fucking police for how to treat uncontacted tribes, but I wouldn't do that. I feel like that's a bad move. So feed vapes to, like, that would be going back in time.
My youngest kitten just tried to jump on my chair, but she doesn't have the strength to jump on the chair with the chair's height and my leg's height. So she just dug her claws into my skin to get up here. I'm so glad her claws have not grown yet, because it didn't draw blood, but I felt them fucking things dig into my skin, bro. Holy shit.
Communities of people who have chosen not to engage with or
I'm so glad her claws are still dull.
and prefer to live in isolation and adhere to more traditional ways of life, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's probably extremely beautiful. And you notice a lot of people, when they get money, they just want to do that. They're like, let's go on a ayahuasca trip. And then that's like ruined as well. Like, everything's ruined by people. People just, they suck. We're all gonna die, so it's not a big deal. Really, at the end of it, everyone will die no matter what. Even the people in the tribe will die, and we will die, the people who are not in the tribe, who are in our slightly different tribe with vapes and upper deckies or whatever. According to Survival International, there are around 100 uncontacted tribes in the world. Most of them are in the Amazon rainforest. A lot of them have their survival threatened by disease, racism, and deforestation. And I can't imagine the YouTube inclusion helps that much. I can't imagine it helps that much. Yeah, it's probably not a good vibe. Survival International also says that the best barrier to prevent deforestation is preserving and protecting territories around these tribes that have recognized land rights, which in turn prevents deforestation, which is pretty cool. But also, it makes them the target for violence because people like to chop down trees to make money. One gigantic territory was recognized as land belonging to an uncontacted tribe before the people were killed by cattle ranchers occupying the land, and that left the last man of that tribe to die of natural causes in 2022. So just completely destroyed by occupiers. I mean, it seems unfair and odd and bad and fucking evil. And obviously, the Nelk boys aren't killing them, but I guess they could have, right? If they didn't take COVID tests or something. Everybody I know is always sick, all the time. So that can't be healthy. Some people argue that actions like those displayed by the Nelk boys or Mikhailo are the first domino to fall in what will eventually lead to the end of the uncontacted tribe, whether it be by transmitting a disease, luring them out of isolation and into a society that they have zero chance of succeeding within, or creating a situation that may provoke the involvement of a larger power, such as an abduction or murder, which it seems like in that case, you're just kind of, you fuck around and find out. I don't think anybody's going to go in there and get rescued if you get abducted by the Sentinelese people or any other uncontacted tribe. So hopefully that never happens, but some people on the other side also argue that this brings awareness to these groups so that they can be better recognized and protected. But I think that when you're bringing these people Diet Coke, vapes, and Zen, you're exempting yourself from whether or not there is an argument on either side. You're just an idiot YouTuber. The end. Press like on this video if you want to see more content, more Slop 60 content. Praise the Holy Relic in the comments down below. Go to gump.club to watch uncensored videos. And also, remember, Pilk, Jelk, subscribe, Sour.gg, buy some candy. Anyways. Are you tired of working a regular-ass 9-to-5 job? Do you wish there was an easier way to make millions of dollars without having any actual, real, tangible skills or talent? I've got news for you. You can have children. A lot of people have these things by accident. You might even have one yourself.
I just hope you feel good about yourself when you were able to give this to me. But my question is, why me? What did I ever do to you?
Today, I am introducing to you the how to exploit your children for profit, method, and or technique.
I'm sipping on being back in October, and they gave my money back like 2 weeks ago.
This is a family vlogger's guide. Step 1. Have children. If you don't have any yet, make some. It's free to make them. You just have to find a willing participant. And if you've already got children, congratulations, you're sitting on a gold mine, my friend. Remember, each child on the low end is worth approximately 2.5 million views per year. Step 2, film everything. Privacy is an absolute afterthought. First day of school, you have to film it. Medical appointments, you have to film it. Emotional tantrums and breakdowns, you have to film it.
Give him the look, give him the look. He's upset. He's like really big and he's still crying on the floor.
Remember, a child without a camera is just a child, and a child with a camera, specifically on camera, is a business expense, and most likely deductible. Thank you, Donald Trump. Step 3, create clickbait titles that exploit your children's most vulnerable moments. She got diagnosed with cancer. If your kids get diagnosed with cancer, it works great. Even if it's not actually about your child, you can just lie. It's for money.
They kind of feel like some of it's their fault, and it's not their fault. It's not. We're the parents, and we should have made better decisions.
Social media algorithms love medical emergencies almost as much as they love their users' lack of basic human decency. Concerned parent and emotional predator, two sides of the same coin.
I really like you. Hold on. How do you work this stupid phone? How do
I'm very sick right now. I'm very sick. I'm very ill. Step 4, monetize those tears. A crying, upset child gets 43% more engagement on average than a happy one. That's right. Your child's emotional trauma and emotional neglect from your hands is worth approximately $17.50 per minute in ad revenue. What a bargain! Bazinga! Pro tip, by the way, keep some onions handy so you can cry too. It won't be as suspicious that way. Family vlogger, step 5. You're probably gonna get some pushback from this, and when people criticize you for exploiting your children, just remind them that you are creating memories and building a business for their future. Even though in most states there's no legal precedent to actually force you to give any of the money you're making from your children to them, it's totally fine. So yeah, if you buy my method and or technique and or course, whatever it is at this point, you order it now and we'll throw in our bonus guide, how to use your religion to deflect criticism of your exploitative parenting practices. I've got good Christian values and I've figured out how to commodify my children's childhoods.
What's your favorite food? That's my favorite too!
Jesus said, suffer the little children, but he didn't say much after that. He gave a lot of context. So I think we all know what that means. Family channels are terrible, and there is one family making videos on YouTube called the LeBrant family. They've been at it for quite a while, and I haven't heard of them until quite recently.
We were giant turds in it. We were giant turds in it.
And that's who we're kind of talking about today, among other things in regard to family channels on YouTube as a whole, because it's a wild world, a wild, evil, crazy world.
I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad!
These people have made millions of dollars by turning their children's lives into content. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, that can't be legal. You know, looking at your iPad because you're a big iPad baby? Like me? Like daddy? I know what you're thinking, looking at your iPad with me on the right side and Coco Melon on the left side going, saying that can't be legal, Oompaville. But it is, though, and it can be, and it's completely legal, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just kidding, there's a lot wrong with it. It is no secret that children who grew up in Hollywood, child stars, are generally messed up in the head. Same thing on YouTube. Same thing, just less illegal. Less rules.
So all they do is stare at a computer screen all day or scared. Why don't you shut up?
Anyways, my friends, welcome back to the Too Late Show. Today we're talking about family channels, specifically the LeBrant family. Family channels are one of YouTube's most profitable genres, and they have been for a very long time, with the top channels earning millions of dollars annually. The concept is simple. You film your children, you upload the footage, you monetize the videos, and then you watch the money roll in. For some reason, when you film your kids, it's like you're creating lamps, and people on YouTube are like moths, and they just show up, and they just watch it. I don't understand why anyone would ever want to watch a family vlog, but also, I'm not a child or a pedophile. So who's the audience? Don't have any idea. It's just creepy for me. The most shocking part about all of this is that the child labor laws that have existed for a long time, by the way, like it's been since the Victorian era when children really got the short end of the stick. All right, it's been quite a while. You know, the rickets and the coal and all the lead paints and the testing. Child labor laws still haven't quite caught up to YouTube content and other social media platforms, which I guess makes sense because laws move at the speed of government, and everybody knows that bureaucracy is cringe and lame and sucks, and making money is like more of a natural thing. It moves at the speed of capitalism's, and we love capitalism. Am I right, fellows? I'm not even being sarcastic. I really do like capitalism a lot. But not like any old capitalism, the Adam Smith type. I'm not that big on merchants and manufacturers seeking special privileges from the government to form cartels that work against consumers, to be honest. Anyways, back to family vlogs. The LeBrant family is one of many successful examples of a family vlogging channel. With over 13 million subscribers, they've reportedly earned millions of dollars by documenting every single aspect of their children's lives, from tantrums to tears to potty training. You know, all the private, important moments that people cherish and hold close to themselves. By the way, I'm obviously not suggesting that just taking pictures of your kids is inherently a bad thing to do. I don't think anyone believes that. Instead, I'm suggesting that filming your children for 8+ hours a day and capturing their most private moments and editing those moments for maximum emotional impact and then clickbaiting them and then monetizing them for millions of strangers to see online, I think that's probably bad, to be honest. Today we're going to be exploring the following: how family channels like the LeBrants operate as a business and the difference between traditional child actors and family channel kids, the concerning lack of regulations in this space, the long-term psychological impact on these poor babies, what we can do to protect these kids by smashing the dislike button on all the LeBrants videos. That will work, I promise. Let's come together! We'll also be talking about my illness and how I illegally operated out of Nicaragua for a short period as a pediatric dentist. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. YouTube was founded in 2005 and the first family channels emerged around 2010. You've got the Shay-tards. I don't even know if I can say that anymore. The Shay-tards. It's that last part of the word tard. Are you allowed to say? I don't know. The Shay-tards, though, they're a real family.
You know, there's another leg, Bronx, with rock tard rolling through here.
And then there's some other ones. I don't really remember any of them. And I only remember the Shay-tards because that whole porn thing.
Colette moved out about a year ago. And we're still married. We have, you know, therapy and we're still working on it.
The LeBrant family specifically started their channel in 2017 after Cole LeBrant gained some fame on Vine. He then married Savannah, and she already had her very own gold mine from a previous relationship. That's a child, by the way. And now Cole and Savannah have 4 children. I'm not going to name them or show their faces at any point during this video, but they have child number 1, child number 2, child number 3, and child number 4. Child number 1 already had an online presence before Cole ever even entered the picture. Savannah had been holding her hostage and taking photographs of her on Instagram, or actually, I think she's her mother. Sorry, I take back that little slanderous, defamatory statement I made. Savannah had been building child number 1's Instagram following by posting photos of her since she was an infant. So, very epic. Nothing says having a healthy childhood quite like being an influencer before you can form complete sentences. My first full sentence was, I want cookie. What was child number 1's? What do you guys think? Press like and subscribe? Or hit that like button? Or the differentiation between the RPM and the CPM is the actual cut that goes to the creator. This is why I follow the Jimmy Beast method of making content and the lesser known Jimmy Yeast method of making beer. The LeBrant family's content focused on dance videos and family vlogs, but they gradually devolved to produce more clickbait and pranks. Nothing is worse than a family channel that also does pranks, the other horrible side of YouTube. And then that devolved into increasingly invasive documentation of the lives of their children, a common evolution in the family channel space as creators chase the dragon, the algorithm heroin Fent rush. A common evolution in the family channel space as creators chase that Fent dragon. You get more and more reward for bigger, more extreme content. Thank you, fentanyl. Introducing the Family Channel Starter Kit for just $299.99. You'll get everything you need to monetize your offspring. Yay! You'll need 1 script for pretending your child is terminally ill. You'll need 3 templates for thumbnails with shocked faces. Use faces like this, and this, and this. 1
Bible. For moral cover, I guess. And 5, emergency signs to hold up during normal activities. Order now, and I'll throw in my book on gaslighting your bitch wife and stupid kids into thinking that this is normal. Or husband, it works on your husband too anyways.
Or you could go to sour.gg and buy some candy. We have new flavors right here. We release a new flavor every single Friday at 3 Central Standard Time. We make our own candy. I'm a YouTuber, but before that, I'm a candy maker. And before that, I make video games as well. This shit just kind of for fun. Go to sour.gg and buy some candy today. It's delicious. It's incredible, and I love my team, the team that actually make this stuff. A lot of them are my family members, and like the main guy I've known since I was a child. It's incredible. Support the channel, support the whole thing we're doing. Go to sour.gg and buy some Sour Boys candy today. And also, join the Gump Club. Go to gump.club to watch uncensored videos and get behind the scenes cool access shit to our live streams that we do every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 Central Standard. The live Too Late show, my friends. Join the Gump Club. Also be at the end of videos, etc., etc., etc. We'll read your viewer mail on live. It's incredible. I'll also throw a net book for you, all right? That gaslighting book. So it doesn't take a genius to understand that family channels are bad, but it doesn't hurt to go into the history of child labor laws in regard to entertainment to understand really just how bad this is and just how bad it's probably going to continue to get for a little while until more people like me make videos on it. Thank you. I'm saving America. Yay! Look at my Garloid. He's got my eyes. You see, in the early days of Hollywood, child actors were often exploited. Everybody gets exploited at some point, but child actors were really exploited in the early days of Hollywood. There were no limitations on working hours and no protections for their earnings. The most famous case was the case of Jackie Coogan, a child star in the 1920s who earned millions of dollars, but discovered as an adult that his asshole parents had spent all his money he earned. And they didn't even have the decency to spend that money on a Target haul video for YouTube to post later and get some Aaron's thinking putty and other toys and accoutrements for their child. The horrible case of Jackie Coogan led to the California Child Actors Bill, commonly known as the Coogan Law, which requires that 15%, a whopping 15% of a child performer's earnings should be set aside in a trust that they can access when they turn 18 years old. 15%, still better than YouTube. 15% though, still low as well. It would be like saying to your son, I am legally allowed to steal 85% of the money that you earn and feel nothing about it. And I won't be liable legally. I kind of get that though. 15%, it's kind of cool. It'd be awesome to tell your son or daughter after they've, had an incredibly talent-filled, successful childhood in TV and movies, I was legally allowed to steal 85% of all the money you made and only be liable for 15%. Thanks to the Coogan Law, you can non-ironically tell your child, I am legally allowed to steal 85% of all the money you make in Hollywood. Thanks to Jackie Coogan. If it weren't for him, I'd be able to steal all of it and be liable for none of it. Oh yeah, and by the way, signing contracts in crayon is still legally viable. So 15% is bad, but child actors in traditional media do have extensive protections going for them. For example, limited working hours, required breaks, on-set tutors, so they can learn and not be stupid. Coogan accounts to protect 15% of their earnings, work permits, licenses, union protections, etc. They've got unions, dude. Imagine being a child actor union buster. Elon Musk, new job for you. Meanwhile, children and family channels have zero limits on filming hours, no mandated breaks, no education requirements, no guaranteed savings, no regulatory oversight. YouTube doesn't give a about them. They have no say in whether or not they're being filmed, but they do get to live in gigantic houses. So that's pretty cool. Nothing's better for a child than having a big house. On a movie set, if a child actor starts crying, production stops. On the LeBrant family's movie set, if one of their children starts crying, production speeds up. All right, guys, whip cut. Or,
whip zoom, rather. Whip zoom. Let's grindhouse this thing. You're not giving enough Stuntman Mike. You're not giving Stuntman Mike hard enough. Now, on top of all of that craziness, there is another critical difference between child actors and Family Channel kids, and that is consent. It is an incredibly important difference. Obviously, a child actor, even with the significant limitations on their ability to provide informed consent, because they're a child, they at least participate in auditions and express interest in performing. performing because they're playing characters. They want to act. They want to act, generally speaking. Children in family channels do not have a choice. They're not playing characters. They're having their real lives filmed, often from birth, with no ability to consent to sharing their most private moments with millions of strangers. For traditional child actors, the character that they play might have an embarrassing moment, but the actor can just go home and have some privacy. Their bathroom habits aren't filmed, their medical appointments aren't monetized, their emotional breakdowns aren't edited and clickbaited. Speaking of which, I had a routine medical procedure last month. It was nothing serious. It was a colonoscopy, routine one. You know, I'm getting to be that age now, 27. The doctor found 3 polyps and an old Bitcoin wallet from 2013. Good news is I'm a millionaire. Bad news is I've got to lay off the red meat or what, I don't know. I didn't have an end to that joke. I didn't write an end to that joke. I just thought it'd be funny to lie about a Bitcoin wallet being in my butt. Anyways, out of all the differences, the most stark are the differences in consent and specifically the protection of earnings. The traditional child actors having actual protections for their earnings. The Coogan law ensures they have at least some of their money saved when they turn 18 years old, but Family Channel kids, they might not see a penny from the millions of dollars that they made being victims of family channels. There is no legal requirement for parents to save any of that money for the children who are central to the content. It's the world's worst unpaid internship. There are only 4 states out of like 60. Just kidding. There are only 4 states out of at least 51. There are only 4 states out of 51. States like California, Illinois, New York, and Tennessee, they're the only ones who have enacted any protections for child influencers, and those laws are still in their infancy and largely untested. That means that in 46 states, you can legally exploit your child more thoroughly than a Victorian coal mine operator. Talk about American exceptionalism. Instead of your little baby getting rickets, they're getting tickets to Disney World because they were good. For now. So to summarize the background of all this information, family channels operate in a virtually unregulated space. Children have no meaningful consent in being filmed. Children have no guaranteed access to the money that they generate. Their most private moments become public content, and the more invasive and emotional the content, the more it is rewarded by the algorithms that these people are shitting into. Now, on to the LeBrant family. What exactly is a family channel? It is a YouTube channel where parents film their children for profit. That's it. That is the entire business model. It's like rare shrimp farming. It's simple, effective, it makes sense, and it's basically like you're dealing in gold. You film your children, you monetize the videos, you repeat that until they turn 18 or file some kind of emancipation, whichever comes first. The average successful family channel video is as follows. You create a video featuring your child in an emotionally charged situation. You upload that content, you have to monetize it, all right, you have to put ads on. Then you reinvest that money into things that are very important to the child, like a bigger house, a better camera, and creating more elaborate content. It's kind of like the most epic example of a pyramid scheme that has ever existed. The people at the bottom, they're not strangers who owe you nothing. They're your own children. It's crazy. It's less exploitative than some cults. If you look into the business model, it is cult-like. It's literally cult-like. Scientology lets you keep more than 15% of your money. And by the way, I'm not endorsing Scientology either. It's also bad and wrong. Badong! With all their different streams of revenue, experts estimate that the LeBrant family earns between
Between $1 and $2 million a year. That's so much money. I just felt really bad for about 10 seconds. I'm sorry. We'll leave that in. And that's right. Our industry experts are estimating that the LeBrants earn between $1 and $2 million a year from just YouTube ad revenue alone, with brand deals potentially doubling or tripling that amount. That's substantially more money than pediatricians make, teachers, other lines of work that aren't built for exploiting children. The LeBrant family saga begins with Savannah, who became pregnant with child number 1 at just 19 years old. And according to Savannah's own account in their book, Colon Sav, Our Surprising Love Story, her relationship with the first child's biological father, Tommy Smith, was tumultuous and marked by infidelity. Savannah initially began building her social media presence on Vine and then Musical.ly. That eventually became TikTok, and now they have 30 million followers, or she does at least. I mentioned earlier that she started monetizing her first child's life very early on, creating an Instagram account that now has over 5 million followers. More than mine. I have 300K on Instagram, dude. That's sad. I don't even have as many followers as child number 3. Who are these people? Who's watching this? I mean, who's watching this? Are you watching? Now enter Cole, husband of Savannah and fellow social media personality who rose to fame with his family's Vine account. It was Dim White Boys. Incredible content, peak pinnacle, Vine, epic stuff. Cole and Savannah met in 2016. They started dating and they married in 2017 when child 1, Savannah's first child, was just 4 years old. Now, I would like to once again make it very clear and acknowledge it's important that there's nothing inherently wrong, I believe, with sharing some aspects of your family's life, your child's life online. You know, a lot of parents post occasional photos, whatever. It's not a big deal. This is a completely different thing, once again, just to make that extremely clear. You know, I have a friend, actually, who posts pictures of his kids on his Facebook account. Just very normal stuff, birthdays, graduations, that sort of thing. And I asked him recently, you know, because I've been doing the whole family vlogging thing, I said, how much do you make, man? And he said to me, make? I don't make anything. And I said, exactly. That's why I'm better than you, Todd. The margins are really high, man. You're gonna have to get with it. After their marriage, Cole and Savannah quickly pivoted to family vlogging, launching their channel, The LeBrant Fam. Their content initially centered around their blended family dynamic, with Cole positioning himself as the stepfather of child number 1, or as they often framed it, bonus dad, because nothing says bonus quite like being commodified, because nothing is quite as epic than by having a bonus dad that will commodify you as a child. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. That's funny. The family expanded with the birth of the second child in 2018, the third child in 2020, and the fourth child in 2022, and the fifth child most recently in 2024. With each new addition, the content grew. They're like DLCs. They're like the Ubisoft, the Harvard Business School of family channels. Iterate, iterate, iterate. It's a perpetual money machine. Let's do it. Now, this is where things get very interesting, because the LeBrants are like many other family vlogging channels, family channels that are very successful. It's not just their massive following. It's not just their particular brand of content that does whatever the it does. It's specifically that their particular brand of content merges the wholesome Christian family values with the classy exploitation of children. It's a unique blend. I didn't think it was possible. The LeBrants present themselves as a picture-perfect Christian family. They frequently reference their faith. They attend church. They promote conservative values, and they have a carefully crafted image. It bothers me because they use this as some kind of justification. I'm a Christian person. I like to reference my faith. I don't go to church enough. Ever. I've never been to church, actually. And there's nothing wrong with some conservative values. But this specifically, this level of irony is just pure evil. This is Jesus if he ever found the LeBrant channel. Ah, yes, I remember that part in the Bible where I said, let the little children come to me so I can film their emotional distress for engagement metrics. That was Matthew 19:14. Or was it TikTok 3:16? Then there is the LeBrant family clickbait tactics. In 2021, they posted a video titled, "She got diagnosed with cancer," with a thumbnail suggesting that one of their children had been diagnosed with cancer, a leading cause of death amongst children, which is just insane. The video actually began with a brief mention of their daughter's emergency room visit before pivoting to an unrelated story about another child with cancer. After the predictably significant backlash, Cole, the father of the family, issued a half-hearted apology on his Instagram stories, not on his main channel, where the video was actually posted. He did acknowledge that the title was misleading, but obviously the damage was done, and the video had millions of views, and you know, it's like robbing a bank and then returning a bunch of pieces of paper that say IOU, Dumb and Dumber style. And also off-the-wall thing that they did, which is even more controversial because it's politically charged, is their 2022 anti-abortion documentary in which they compared abortion to the Holocaust. Very strange business strategy when you're running a family-friendly channel. That would be like if Disney released a sequel to Frozen where Elsa explains the intricacies of geopolitical conflicts in the Middle East. Their most recent backlash involves Diddy. Believe it or not, that's crazy and an off-the-wall thing to say in a video about family channels, but it was a video of Cole and daughter number 1 dancing to a Diddy song just days after the rapper was arrested for serious sex trafficking charges. Not a lot of thought from these people. Pretty bad parents, pretty stupid. A telling example of how the LeBrants prioritize their intelligence over their children, and specifically the content creation and how all that stuff works together. In 2022, they announced that they were pulling daughter number 1 out of school to homeschool her. And what was the reason? The reason was that Savannah wanted a second set of hands at home when the new baby comes. So basically, they said, daughter number 1, sorry, we're going to disrupt your development and homeschool you, because I was homeschooled. It was awesome for me. That's because my mom is a teacher. It was really good. It was really good for me. I got out a lot. I was awesome. I graduated when I was 15 years old. It's very cool. But it ain't for everybody, all right? Especially not these people. What the f? So yeah, homeschooling is definitely an option, and I would consider it for my own children if I had them, but I wouldn't cancel my child's childhood so my child could help me document my other children's childhoods. That seems more wrong. Homeschooling is a less related and more of an adjacent thing there. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, the kids seem happy in the videos. Surely it can't be that bad. They're rich, they got all this stuff or whatever. Yeah, man. On camera, they're absolutely happy, and they seem to be as well adjusted as they can be with the parents that they've got. But everything you see online is completely curated. Everything is packaged for maximum engagement. There's no spontaneity. There's nothing real about any of it. It's all fake. And we know on the whole, it's a bad thing. The worst part about all of this for me is that YouTube just allows it. Sure, we've got the Coogan law for traditional child actors. That's good. There's a couple states that have legislation passed for child influencers, but you know, all that stuff's way behind. YouTube is still a private platform that can do whatever it wants, and they make so many moral high ground decisions that are just not that. It's just a response to some kind of political pressure or whatever For example, you can't even talk about guns. You can't even make videos about guns in a completely informative and educational way. It's difficult. There are a lot of people who do it, but it's very difficult. It's incredibly difficult to even get started in it now. And it's completely harmless, informative, educational content. But if you want to exploit your children and make millions of dollars ruining their lives, as long as it's okay on camera, it's completely fine. It's completely fine. What the fuck? Though I have to say, YouTube does have policies against child endangerment and exploitation, but they're not enforced consistently like any of their other policies. They're enforced about as consistently as my New Year's resolutions, which is to say, they aren't enforced at all. They did take down a couple of channels like Daddy05, but only after public outcry reached a fever pitch and there was genuine torture going on that was being filmed and uploaded. Maybe just don't let people exploit their children for views. Maybe if someone's core content is just that, and it's just children and stuff, and it's not providing anything, turn off ads. You already do that with like the Coco Melon shit. Just do it with family channels. Who the f cares? It's inappropriate. But no, they operate with impunity. Now it's okay, little guy, but you really need to start crying more.
The algorithm loves it when you cry. Why?
Did he just talk? What the fuck?
I don't know. I don't make the rules, little buddy. You'll be okay. You look just like me. So cute.
It's my son. Get it? By the time these poor children are old enough to understand and potentially object, it's going to be too late. The digital footprint exists, and their most embarrassing moments are archived forever. The money's already been made by their parents. Anyways, that's about it. I've actually, non-ironically, been thinking about starting my own family channel. I don't have kids, but I have a houseplant that I've been neglecting, so I figured it would be kind of a natural foray into that world. I could neglect the houseplant on camera, maybe monetize it, kind of practice, you know? Very fascinating indeed. Interesting. In the year 2010, Xbox 360 modding tutorials caused me to fall deeply in love with a social media platform in a way that simply cannot and will not ever happen again. It cannot happen now. I'd come home from middle school, clean the kitchen for my mom, finish my homework, and just dive into YouTube. It's basically all I did for years of my life. Was it healthy? Absolutely not. But guys, it was awesome, okay? I did grow out of it though. It's probably for the best, considering I was in my late 30s at the time. YouTube was an awesome platform, and I remember the internet being incredible back then. Surely, there was rampant, unregulated, illegal content, zero privacy protections, and evil forums existed before Discord ever housed the freak-ass motherfuckers it does now. But it did feel better, though, I think. I'm pretty sure. I have no real evidence, but I'm going to be speaking objectively throughout this entire video, so you're gonna have to get used to it. All right? Okay? You want to say something about it? Join the Gump Club. We're the cool kids. Now, the internet is cringe as I hate it. Gen Z has ruined absolutely everything for me, and it seems so dumb to say that out loud as if I'm some kind of old, decrepit man. Gen Z, I'm Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z by like 6 months, okay? I was born in 1996. I am not that old, but I feel old when I watch content that's showed to me as opposed to what I'm searching. I feel so old. Do you feel that way? I get excited when I see a video about some extinct type of dinosaur and how it lived, or how I would never be able to survive as a medieval peasant or a Victorian child with rickets or something like that. I love those videos. And then you see shit like this, dude.
All right, guys, I just totaled my McLaren.
The internet has gotten a lot worse, and I'm here to tell you all that Gen Z has the worst generation of influencers that has ever existed, aside from millennials as well. They're all terrible, but for the point of this video, Gen Z is somehow worse. Welcome to another episode of Old Man Pulls Out and Yells at Cloud for some reason. Today we're going to be explaining why content was better back in my day. I should also clarify that by back in my day, I mean 2007 is sort of when I gained consciousness, all the way to around 2014. That was kind of my day, and by better, I mean still terrible, but in different ways. I'm just nostalgic. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just trying to relate. So, let's establish what exactly we're talking about. Our talking points. Here they are. Okay. Bing, boom, bing, bing, boom, bing, bing, boom, bing. Soup. Scoop. Let's establish what we're talking about here. The internet, specifically content creation platforms like YouTube, have fundamentally changed how people create and consume media, and they have fundamentally changed since back in my day. I could pretend this is some kind of deep sociological analysis, but I'm a f***ing idiot, and I just want to complain about things when they change and prove also maybe that I could potentially be intellectually superior to a small group of teenagers, maybe? I'm not sure. Going to be starting and examining what early YouTube was like. And this is for all you children who think that the platform was invented when Mr. Beast started giving away Lamborghinis. Mr. Beast's been around. He's an OG. He's an unk, literally. He's younger than me, though, which is... And did I mean figuratively or did I mean literally? I think if you look at him, he looks AI generated. He looks unk-like. I sat across the room from him, so, and I sat in his lap. Not releasing that footage, though. Then we will be comparing directly content creators from my era to current Gen Z influencers that are dumb and cringe and lame, and why everything is way worse now, while I conveniently ignore that I am also a part of the problem. How many videos have I made about the hawk to a girl? Jesus fuck! This guy stinks! Now I'm gonna start off by being fair, and I'm gonna acknowledge the elephant that is right in the room. Something right up front. I'm gonna come out clean, okay, guys? I'm about to fall into the oldest trap in human history, in the books. Thinking things were better somehow because you're not suffering actively while you're experiencing them, all right? Things always seem like they were better. They always do. That's just kind of how it is. It's some kind of philosophical, fundamentalist sort of idea. I'm not exactly sure. Things always seem better, or they seemed better, like childhood. Oh, I'll never be able to feel that way ever again. True. And it is better. It feels like it was because it is. The end. Back in my day, we had beautiful content creators like Tobuscus, Intro of Darkness, and then Redness, and then Whiteness. We had Shane Dawson. I didn't really watch Shane Dawson much. We had Colleen Ballinger, my goat. We had Boogie2988 and Jay Station as well. I'm not sure when he started, but he was like one of the older ones. These are all terrible examples. This is a list of a cognitive impairment is really actually what I was doing there. I was giving you guys a list of ironically bad ones from the olden days. All the people on that list turned out to be sort of terrible, but the point still stands. Our influencers were better, and there's no arguing about it. So get out of my comment section, broccoli head. You some little broccoli head bastard. For real, I believe that content has degraded. So why was old content better? Because the algorithm hadn't evolved to reward sociopathic behavior quite as efficiently as it does now, all right? It still did a little bit, but it's more efficient now. It's definitely better. That's our thesis for today. Generation Z people, these freaks, they don't suck because they suck. They suck because their hair sucks. Broccoli head. It's just a broccoli head thing. I just don't like it. There's something very potent in this bag. This bag of whatever this is. It's all over my desk. Oh, Lord, that's strong stuff. What is that? It's all over my hands, too. It's like sawdust, but it stings. Stings makes my eyes dry. So yes, sit down. I'm going to be proving you all this stuff. I'm going to be putting the pudding out, or whatever the proof's in the pudding. I'm not exactly sure. Over the next 30 minutes, you're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to pay attention. All right, and it's going to be easy for you because of this. Easier for me, too, I swear to God. It really works. It's good. It makes things better. It really does. Start incorporating it into everyday tasks, and it genuinely helps. Like, I don't understand why, but it genuinely helps. So let's start with a little history, all right? A little history lesson for you zygotes out there who think the internet began when TikTok was invented. Do you think the internet? Nobody thinks that. Nobody's that stupid. That's a terrible, stupid thing to say. YouTube was launched in 2005 by 3 ex-PayPal employees who were supposedly frustrated that they could not find videos of Janet Jackson's popping out at the Super Bowl. Remember that? Remember that when that happened? I think I remember when that happened. I swear I had memories of it, and it wasn't all that, to be honest. That is actually not a joke, by the way. As far as we can tell, that is real. That's one of the reasons that YouTube was started. My career started because 3 guys wanted to see Janet Jackson's pop out. That's wild, man. That's crazy. No nipple online. Change the future. No, change the future. Them p***s are pretty strong. I don't want to say anything crazy or be a misogynist or whatever. P***s are pretty strong. Google bought YouTube in 2010. For $1.65 billion, which at the time seemed like an insane amount of money, and it still is a insane amount of money, but now it's way bigger. Like it's that was in 2006. We're in 2025. It's almost been 20 years. It has? No! That's not good. That just ruined my whole day. Jesus. The real turning point for all of this came in 2007 when YouTube introduced its partner program, which let creators earn a share of ad revenue, and suddenly people could make money by filming themselves in their bedrooms alone, which previously it was an entirely different online business model. That is filming yourself alone, probably peeing white. That's my assumption, is what that means. Most people filming themselves alone, making money, or peeing white, or whatever people do. Am I right, fellow people? You'll have to maybe fact check that. I'm not sure. I recently peed white. It was crazy. Early YouTube was entirely underpinned and defined by low production values and pure authenticity. It was incredible. It genuinely was a place where people made bad content, and that's it. And it felt cool. Authenticity, by the way, is code for terrible lighting and undiagnosed personality disorders. Videos were shot on taters, based pretty much, with built-in microphones that picked up every single. Oh, that's like connected to something. I don't want to do that. Hold on. Taters, man. They put my tater on that bone. Better be put on them taters on there. Some of that original authenticity was code for just really ass lighting. Filming your video on taters and having an undiagnosed personality disorder, that does encompass a large section of that authenticity claim that I made a moment ago. They really did use taters to film stuff. I mean, do they even make cameras that bad? Did they ever? I guess they did. Now, there was something beautiful about the authenticity. People were not creating content for some weird optimized algorithm or to show off to their friends or to make it seem like their lives don't suck or blow big chunk. The algorithm barely existed. None of that was real. Nobody was filming themselves to be a famous person. People were just being weird, man. They're just being weird. They had no other outlet. That was only 20 years ago that people were getting down. Free spirits out there, man, in the mid-2000s. Yeah! Remember that video, that monkey sticking his finger in his butt and he smells it? And then he falls off the tree? I don't even know if that's real. I just remember seeing that in Austin Powers. Is that even a real video? Roll the clip. I don't remember. remember anything else that he did. I don't even know if he posts. Love that guy, though. But on the that is terrible. I just said on the educational. On the educational side, we had creators like Destin from Smarter Every Day who made videos explaining various scientific concepts with the enthusiasm of a Alabama-based golden retriever who just discovered physics.
And so if you have gasoline down here in the bowl, down here, all full up right here, what you do is you have a little bitty pipe right here, like a straw, that goes up and goes into the center of the venturi. And what that does is that creates a little bitty jet of liquid that comes up right here because of that vacuum. And then once that happens, it mixes and then it goes downstream into the engine like this.
Videos about shooting bullets underwater or spinning in reverse actually taught you something while entertaining you. This guy, he made really high quality videos. He didn't use a tater. This guy's a genius. I love Destin from Smarter Every Day. I would love to eventually do something with him. That's a crazy thing to say out loud because why would he ever fraternize with me? I'm the enemy. I'm the idiot, literally. Definition of that. Brett and Link have been building their incredible Good Mythical Morning empire on friendship and their willingness to eat basically anything and pretty much can create content out of everything all the time, very impressively, consistently, with ever-increasing quality. And I mean, they have done an incredible job of staying relevant from then and before then. I discovered them like a third away through their journey, something like that. Now they're still going. They're awesome. They've maintained their core identity, which is genuinely impressive. It's also impressive that their intestinal tracts haven't collapsed after 15 years of willing. Am I right, fellow mythical enjoyers?
As you know, we here at Good Mythical Morning tackle the deeper issues of life. Today is no different. Today we answer the question, will it ice cream sandwich?
A little bit of this, so with you that. How about that shit? Love Link, dude. Those guys are awesome. They're my goats. Now that's pretty much the end of the nostalgic and wholesome content creators that are still wholesome to me. For every wholesome creator, there were plenty who were terrible, problematic. I don't want to use that word. It's such a bad, dumb word. So I'm not going to say it. Let's rewind, cut that out. Problematic. Problematic. How about I don't give a about any of the problems that most people approach it with problematic. I don't care. All right? I think about whether or not I have to poop. That's like 80% of all of my thoughts are, do I have to poop right now? Do you think I give a about moralism? No, I don't. All right? At least 20% of the time I care about that stuff, maybe. But the other 80, I'm just thinking about whether or not I got poop in my butt. Sorry, that's really dumb. We've also got Toby Turner Tobuscus. I've made references to his intros of Darkness and Redness and Whiteness multiple times in just this recording.
Intro.
Intro of Darkness. He had a comedy channel, multiple channels, and did comedy. His literal trailers I thought were incredible. Let me see if I can think of one. Hold on. This is off the script. All right, this is off the script, off the rip, motherfucker. Stargate, Ubisoft, Sparkle, Fading. I don't remember what that one is. What about the Skyrim one? All I can think of is the Game of Thrones theme in my head right now. I gotta look it up now. Skyrim, literal. Tobuscus. Should probably fire their helicopter cameraman. Let's see.
Should probably fire their helicopter cameraman.
Ominously lit carving of some dragons. Cameraman. I don't remember this one. Gandalf and his friends. Pretty good, honestly, for the time. Pretty good, honestly. He was a hyperactive guy. He had a personality perfect for YouTube. Then came 2016. He was accused of sexual assault and drugging women. And his career imploded quite quickly. All right? And now he's wild man on Twitter. Wild man, absolute crazy wild man. I'd love to have him sit right there in that couch, to be honest. Talk to him one day for a video. But I think people would get pretty mad at me. So I'll probably do it anyway. Shane Dawson was YouTube royalty as well with his conspiracy conspiracy theories, his documentaries, his food videos, his blackface characters, pedophilia jokes, sexualizing minors, etc. He was still one of the largest creators on the platform until around 2020. That's 12 years of being awesome. Just kidding. Just kidding, it was just a joke. That's 12 years of being insanely, dangerously epic before he felt any real meaningful consequences. He even did that dumbass sociopath documentary with Dave Paul. I remember getting in arguments in the comments with people from that, I don't know, what a crazy era. That seems like one of the main differences between content creators now and then. It took forever for people to have consequences for their actions then, and now it's just like, if you do anything at all, you instantly get canceled. You instantly get canceled. Although, the cancellations from back then seem to be more severe than the cancellations now. Nowadays, you can survive them. Even if it's really bad, you can just kind of survive it. Another fascinating thing about early YouTube is how it operated with almost no oversight. The content ID system didn't exist at all. Community guidelines were not very well enforced. You could not show people dying, but you could kind of hide people dying and you'd get away with it. It was very loosely enforced. Everything was loosely enforced. It was the wild, 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 wild west. And I think what that means is that our golden age creators weren't better by any real measurable metric in terms of morality and ethics or whatever, because they're all, you know, bad. People just get mad at them because everyone was more okay with stuff. It's just that the algorithm has changed. That's the main difference. The algorithm has just changed, and now it doesn't operate off of authenticity. It operates off of outrage. And that's why everybody gets in trouble more as well now, too. The YouTube algorithm didn't actively promote the most extreme and outrageous content to the degree that it does today. Although people make jokes all the time, like, what if you gave Sprite to a Victorian child, you know, that would explode or something like that? I mentioned earlier, if I took the top 10 reels I have on my Instagram feed right now and I put them on YouTube in 2005, that shit would explode. There's some content out there that would make people's brains catch fire back in those days. I mean, really. There's some shit that I've seen this week from AI that I'm just like, is this even, am I even legally allowed to look at this? What is this? What the fuck's going on right now? So what about the creators of today? How have they evolved in this algorithmic hellscape, my friends? Let's take a look at the horror show, all right? Let's go down the list. Let's take a look at the horror show and let's get angry. Let's get outraged together because I'm gonna get really mad. My heart rate's gonna, my blood pressure is gonna, my penis, whoop. Nope, just kidding. That's not real. Not real. I'm not gonna be white today. I don't think. How's that even work? Welcome to the algorithmic Thunderdome, where these broccoli-headed idiots fight and battle for your attention and your engagement in increasingly desperate ways. Let's examine what exactly happens when platforms evolve to reward maximum engagement cost. Themselves from Christ. Or whatever. First, I will acknowledge something important. Production values have skyrocketed. Early YouTubers film with taters.
I'm Phil, and welcome to my video blog, which I hope you're very excited to be a part of.
Today's top creators have multi-million-dollar studios with entire teams of production professionals, etc., and the content is still diarrhea dog shit, but it looks good, it's clean, it's sharp. You can buy a $120 camera now that looks better than basically anything that wasn't filmed for the last 100 years, pretty much. The quality of the content, well, the compression quality of the content has improved drastically. The actual quality has not. Yacht Rizzler. Exhibit A, maximum quality. That is Mr. Beast. Also, a lot of thought outside of just the physical quality of the videos. He's the undisputed king of modern YouTube. Jimothy, Mr. Beast, Mr. Donaldson has built an empire by understanding the algorithm better than anyone else. His videos cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions of dollars to produce, which is crazy. They're YouTube videos. He gives away cars, houses, and obscene amounts of cash, and has been for a ridiculously long time, and he's aggressively wholesome. I don't know though. This guy's content in and of itself has changed YouTube fundamentally as well, beyond just the actual algorithmic changes. He has figured it out. Mr. Beast, the Mr. Beastification of YouTube has led to content being worse by a lot. Less watchable, less authentic, more hyper-focused on numbers and things that don't really matter. And it really isn't Beast's content. Some of his videos are pretty cool or like objectively interesting, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of haters of Mr. Beast. I'm his top guy, okay? I'm not his top guy. I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. I don't know, dude. Somebody kill me right now. Immediately. A lot of the Mr. Beast tryhards, though, are so fucking annoying that it's difficult to put into words. A lot of these broccoli heads that I'm talking about, Gen Z people, they fall under the I am like Mr. Beast purview. I make Mr. Beast content. I am broccoli head. Although Ryan Trahan is, I think, technically a broccoli head, but doesn't count because his videos are incredible. His videos are better than Mr. Beast's videos. I like Ryan Trahan's videos better than Mr. Beast's. I think Ryan Trahan is awesome. A really good creator. Unless there's something horrible that he did that I don't know about yet. I'm sure I'll find out. Jeez. But yeah, the stakes with modern content are so much higher in every single way. The video quality is way better. The ideas are far more advanced and crazier. They're outrageous. It's insane. Every single view impression is a hit of the game. Every single one has to be bigger than the last. And by the way, guys, just to be clear, I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying Mr. Beast's bad, okay? I'm not saying any of this stuff is bad. Unless I did say it already, then I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I did say that. But, like, let's be real here. It's not bad. But it's not that good either. It is the perfect adaptation to an ecosystem that rewards spectacle over substance, but also substance. And somehow maximizing spectacle and substance. By the way, the movie Substance, very interesting movie. My fiance let me know repeatedly that those were prosthetic breasts on that woman that was in the movie. Lots of times. Like, it's okay if you watch this because they're not real. Beast and his crew and the people who make the Beast type outrageous, incredibly substantial videos, they're constantly making transactions, making sacrifices, giving to the altar of Moloch. All right, they're giving to the World Economic Forum, and George Soros is trickling down his penis leg, them billions of views or whatever, using YouTube as their primary platform. Okay, it's like how the ancient Greeks used to sacrifice a white bull when something would go awry, to hope that things would go Rye? What's the opposite of a rye? Good? Fine? Make good thing from bad thing, potentially. Put idea in, get money out. Now, for every impressive adaptation like Mr. Beast, there are dark examples. Far darker than Beast. Beastification, which is dark as it is. The Beastification is dark, for sure. Let's talk about Jack Doherty, all right? The ultimate broccoli head. I don't know if this guy's 15 years old, 16 years old, 17. I think he's like 34. I have no idea. He's got a broccoli head and he's got a toddler body. He's got a toddler body and a broccoli head, and he's built his brand on doing increasingly stupid stunts. Not even dangerous stuff, just stupid shit, dumb shit. And he has like such a, just a way, like flicks his hair, like, just like, you know, I'm a broccoli head. I'm out in the garden patch because I'm a broccoli. I'm a cruciferous vegetable. Shut the fuck up. I'll pluck you. All right, and I'll dice you up and I'll steam you. I won't boil you because we'll lose bioavailability and nutrients, of course, because you're broccoli or whatever. But I will steam you and I'll eat you. I'll consume you, bro. Little guy. Take, for example, a few months ago, Jack Doherty crashed his McLaren and almost killed his friend and just kept filming and was just like, give me camera. I hurt my clavicle. Ow, ow, broccoli head. I don't really remember anything else about that video. It's terrible. It's traumatizing for me watching it. He's just such a toddler body. It's ridiculous, to be honest with you guys. It's ridiculous, to be honest with you. I have a bag of dirt, what it looks like dirt or something. Some kind of unknown powder, and it's making me tingle at both ends. How many ends do I have? 2? I don't know. Top and bottom. Where's my Z-axis? How am I aligned? But yeah, it seems like to me, Jack Doherty is the logical endpoint of the YouTube algorithm that rewards spectacle and shock value above all else. Crashing your car gets you talked about by everyone and somehow continues your career so you can pimp OnlyFans girls out. I don't know what exactly he does, but I know it's not good. I'm willing to bet it's bad. Really bad, all right? Really bad. Endangering your friends? Millions of dollars, so much worth money, big time. Everybody loves Jack. Nobody actually genuinely watches Jack Doherty. He's one of the most hated men on the internet right now. And this is an internet with people like Neon, who isn't even that hated now, I think. Speed's done a lot of dumb shit, but he's pretty awesome, super entertaining. There is nobody that I can think of, aside from Johnny Somali, but he's in jail, nobody that I can think of who's consistently as insufferable and bad and continuously worse, somehow still gets away with it as Jack Doherty. And just like... I've heard some people say, well, you can't like Jackass and not like Jack Doherty and these other people. You can't. They did dangerous stunts in the early 2000s. Some of them were insufferable, like Steve-O, for example. He was terrible really early on, but they still had insurance, safety teams, medical supervision. They didn't involve random civilians on public roads. They put thought into what they were doing. They did real, genuine stunts. They Mr. Beastified being dumbasses. That's what they did. It was some high-level shit. These folk in this modern day, they're just doing things the shortest, easiest possible way to make the most amount of money and scam people the most. Cryptocurrency, for example. Meme coins. So if you're new to this, you've never seen Jack Doherty, you probably heard me mention Johnny Somali. If you don't know who that is, I'm going to introduce you to him. He is an IRL streamer, which means he walks around in real life and just streams and bothers people. He just bothers people. He's been banned from Japan. He is an asshole. He's live streamed himself harassing people in Japan. He live streamed so much that he got arrested, banned from the country. PewDiePie even made a video about how pieces of shit like him are ruining countries because they tourist there and then they just are massive doink heads. It's fucked up, dude. It's sad, brother. It's so sad for people like me, good people, who want to go to these places and like, I'm a content creator. I'm embarrassed to be an influencer because of people like Jack Doherty and Johnny Somali and a lot of others. There's like lots of others that are just make this incredibly embarrassing. I don't tell people that I make videos. I tell them that I do media. Jack Doherty is an idiot kid who has a chance to still be redeemed at some point in the future, probably. Johnny Somali is irredeemable. He is a gigantic piece of shit. His whole content strategy is harassing innocent people. His shtick is not to say IP white and people think that that's funny. His shtick is to go to public places, target random people, say offensive things, for example, in Japan about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you know, joking about hundreds of thousands of people getting vaporized to end World War II, and then he live streams it all for donos, and then turns on TTS. Platforms love that type of content. They heavily reward him, or have for a little while, but he did it so badly. I think he's in jail forever now. I think he tried to walk into Mordor or something. I have no idea. Got snatched up, dude. His clips have gone viral so many times. His own content doesn't really do that well. His streams don't really do that well, but he's incredible content. Reaction videos to his behavior rack up millions of views. It's a cycle of outrage that generates attention and translates directly into money for people like me. Not so much people like him, which is good, but it's still a thing. People want to do what he does because it's an instant way to get people talking about you and get famous. Now, this brings us to platforms like Kick, the live streaming site that is basically Twitch without any sort of moderation. The inception of Kick, to be honest, seems like it was just made so people could gamble out on Twitch and live stream themselves driving 150 miles per hour and just be generally degenerate. There are a lot of good players on Kick, to be fair, but there's a lot of just terrible bad ones because they're not allowed on Twitch. And Rumble, like, let's be real, Rumble is just, I don't even know what Rumble is at this point. You go on Rumble, it's great. A lot of people want me to get on Rumble. Hey, man, I'm not going to get on Rumble. Yeah, I'm still allowed on YouTube. Why the fuck would I get on Rumble? That's a sound, by the way. Rumble. So if it's taking you this long to get the point of this video, things used to be way better. Now they suck, and there's nothing that we can do about it. We get the fucking Hawk Tua bitch now. What is it? What is that? That didn't exist 20 years ago. We had bum fights, but we didn't have Hawk Tua. I'd rather have bum fights than Hawk Tua. What would you rather have? Vote down below. Hawk Tua girl or bum fights? Obviously not bum fights. That's a travesty. I suppose the main difference is that the dudes who made bum fights had to work really hard and try their absolute best for a long time to develop a cult-like following of people who wanted to watch bums fight and were just bad people. Whereas now, you just have to be loud and IRL stream, and you're that thing now. You attract the same audience. It's way easier now. It's just easier now to be bad, and yeah, it was better. It was better. The end. That's my argument. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed, press the like button if you want to see more videos. Smash that subscribe button. I have no idea. Go to sour.gg, buy some candy, like I mentioned, and go to the Gump Club to watch uncensored videos. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, lest we forget, tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time to watch the Too Late Show live.
Bro, this haircut's got to get to marinate, and I look like fucking Mark Davis right now. Holy shit. Hawk Tuba. Spit on that thing. These are the final words that my father said to me before he died. Coincidentally, they're also the words that made Haley Welch famous beyond comprehension, so who would have thunk? Now, if you're anything like me, it's probably been a few months since you've heard the infamous phrase, Hawk Tua, spit on that thing, and if you're really like me, you were probably fine with that being the case. However, unfortunately for us, Miss Haley Welch, aka Miss Hawk Tua, has returned to the internet to do a tell-all about her crypto scam in which she claims to prove her innocence and show that it's really not her fault. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Who would have thunk? Now, Miss Hawk Tua's internet career has been a bit of a roller coaster. Obviously, she started off by getting famous for something that should have never made her famous. She then used that fame to travel the country getting brand deals from out-of-touch executives. She started merchandise lines. She was throwing the first pitch at baseball games, touring with celebrities. Shit that should have genuinely just never happened. Why it did, I still can't understand. She made her Talk Tua podcast. She launched a dating app, I think. And then obviously, where it all came crashing down was when she got involved with the Hawk coin, a meme coin based on her that turned out to be one giant scam. Now, obviously, when this first hit the internet, it was a pretty hot topic. Miss Hawk Tua hadn't quite fully faded into irrelevancy. She was getting there, but her being part of a massive pump and dump was still kind of newsworthy. But for the most part, it seemed like most people talked about it for maybe a week, and then the general population came to either one of two conclusions. One being that she was just too stupid to know what she was getting herself into, or two, we made a person famous for saying some dumb shit on the internet. Why are we necessarily surprised that they might pull a crypto scam? Who cares? Move on. And that's what most people did. Nobody talks about Hawk Tua anymore. You probably haven't heard the name Haley Welch in months, just like I hadn't, until a couple of days ago when she made a new episode of the Talk Tua podcast, thank the Lord, where she tells it all. She exposes all the secrets, walks us through how this scam happened, and proves her innocence. At least, you know, that's what she claims. This video comes across as a fully scripted PR response where she was very obviously instructed to not take any responsibility for anything because that's what happens. It's full of contradictions. It's a terrible, terrible response to being part of a pump and dump scam. So obviously, we're going to look at it. Now, thankfully, considering the fact that this podcast episode got like 2,000 or 3,000 views in the first 24 hours, I have a feeling that this is probably going to be the last time we talk about Miss Hawk Tua. I think we've probably reached the end of the road for her internet career. What we haven't quite reached the end of the road for, I know, I'm sorry, shameless plug again, is the limited run of my desk mats that I made in collaboration with Epic Desk. These are only going to be available for a few more weeks, guys, so if you want one, do not hesitate. A lot of you guys have already gotten one, and I appreciate you all greatly. You're really helping me out. That's enough of that, though. Let's look at this dog shit response. Please subscribe.
Hey guys, it's finally time that we get into the meme coin disaster and address everything that's going on, and we can finally tell our truth about it as we know it, and I finally get to tell my side of the story that I've been holding on to. After reading all the comments and everything people have been saying about it, I thought it would be best if I just sat here and addressed it myself.
So why are you just now wanting to address everything?
something you definitely want to address, but I couldn't at the time because of like all the legal stuff going on. I was in an open investigation, going to see the FBI, and then the SEC reached out. And I think somebody else reached out too, but they ended up not wanting anything after everything else was shut down. I don't know, it was very stressful because I couldn't get my point across, and I had to just sit there and let people call me a scammer, a crook, all sorts of different things. It was stressful. Because, I mean, I couldn't sit there and defend myself and tell them what happened. I was told not to say nothing.
Okay, so honestly, this feels like the only time that she's completely honest during this entire video. Yeah, she probably was advised not to say anything. That I can believe. Everything else that she's gonna say, we'll see.
So how'd you even get introduced to like the crypto space?
I mean, it was just like any other deal that gets brought to you. Like, the deal got brought to my managers a few times by different people. I don't know, I was very hard to persuade at first because I've never heard anything good about the space, like Bitcoin, crypto. I've never heard anything good about it. And I didn't know enough to really get into it, I don't think. But I finally just, I don't know, I finally gave in and just done it.
I like how she's trying to make this out to be this thing that she was like pressured into doing. Again, for some reason, she was the biggest face on the internet for a few months. I can't imagine how many companies were offering her crazy deals to promote their shit. The fact that she's making this out to be this thing that she like had to do, she just felt the pressure. No, you just wanted the money, which is fine. Money's awesome, but just, you know, say that.
So did you make anything from the coin at all?
So the only thing I made from it wasn't even from the coin. I got paid a marketing fee. That's all I made. I did not make a dime from the coin itself.
So you got paid for promoting it, or?
Just promoting it and putting all the work into it, like the videos and stuff that I do for him to post, that's what I got paid for. But the coin itself, like anything that was raised from that coin, I did not make a dime off of it. But at this point, like everything I paid for like PR crisis, a new lawyer, stuff like that.
All that money went to that?
Every bit of it went to that. So, I mean, I've really come out with nothing.
Damn.
All that trouble for nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, boo-hoo, Haley Welch. Yeah, I forgot. You're the victim of this pump and dump scheme that you helped organize. Like I said, there's no accountability taken in this video. This entire time, she kind of makes herself out to be the victim, which, I mean, at first, I thought that she probably was kind of a victim in this, that she really just got herself into something that she shouldn't have, but some of the stuff that she's going to say during this video really changed my mind on that. If anything, all she's going to have accomplished by the end of this video is kind of make herself look like she did know what she was getting herself into, or at the very least should have.
Do you remember when we went to the Bitcoin conference too?
Yes.
And they told us that like they were a really tight community. We sat there for how long? It was a few hours.
For hours, yeah. We met a lot of people, but
I couldn't tell you what any of them
I didn't
do.
understand any of it at all.
The only thing I remember about that day, some guy handed me like a printout coin. Do you remember that? And you're supposed to scan those.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I got one of those. That's the only thing I could tell you about that whole day. Like, learning-wise, I feel like I did not learn anything in there. But I also can't pay attention to stuff like that.
That's true.
Okay, so I feel like the last 20-30 seconds should have been the entire video, and that's all she really needed to say. This is crazy work. I don't know if she just didn't run this by anybody, but she basically just starts to admit that she had the opportunity to learn about all this shit. They were going to conferences and stuff, and she just didn't pay attention. This is the stuff I'm talking about when I say that I don't think she can really be considered a victim anymore. She admits to just not paying attention to any of the opportunities where she could have learned about where she's going to be making all this money from, which if she did, she may have been able to recognize that this was not above board a little bit sooner.
We done a podcast too with somebody at one point.
And they tried explaining us like the whole crypto thing. It still kind of went right over our heads, but...
Well, you can't talk to me about something for longer than like an hour. I'm going to like disassociate, you know? I mean, I can tell you about Pepe.
I feel like people who are in the crypto space still don't fully understand it either.
Fully grown woman sitting there saying that it's not her fault that she can't learn about anything. She can't pay attention to anything for an hour. Holy shit. And this cop-out, oh, I don't think anybody in the crypto space knows about it either. No, you guys just didn't do any sort of research. You likely just saw a huge amount of money promised, and you were like, yeah, fuck it, who cares? Again, a pretty fair mistake to make when you're thrown into fame, but just admit to that. Stop acting like this all snuck up on you.
And that's when we get to the after the coin launch, the feds come to Granny's house and knock on her door, and she called me having a heart attack, said, the FBI is here after you. What have you done? I was like, what? So I got their number and everything, and then I gave it to my lawyer, and then he talked to him a little bit, and they're like, oh, you're not in any trouble. We just want to ask you questions about everything. And then they wanted to see my phone. So I was like, okay, well, that's not a problem. There's nothing on my phone I can hide. So we ended up picking a date to go up there. It was in Nashville, right? But we went to Nashville, and I went in this room full of men, basically, and they interrogated me, asking me questions, and everything else related to crypto. All the people in my phone I talked to about crypto, they went through my phone. So they cleared me. I was good to go, and then the SEC picked it up. And then they didn't want to talk with me, but they wanted my phone. So I sent my phone off to them for 2 or 3 days, and I guess they cloned my phone, copied it, something. But they went through my phone. I was cleared from them, and I wasn't named on the lawsuit either.
That would have terrified me.
It was definitely scary, but at the end of the day, it's like something that makes you feel better, though. Because
you didn't have nothing to hide.
Yeah, I don't have anything to hide. I gave them everything on my phone. They went through it. They sent it back, and I was cleared. I wasn't named on the lawsuit. None of that. So, like, legally, I was not in any trouble.
Okay, so I have a hard time believing that she would lie about this. I feel like she's probably telling the truth here, but there is a difference between being, like, legally liable and morally liable. It's definitely likely that she truly did not know all this was a scam, but like she said herself, she was sort of immersed into the crypto space for a while before this coin launched. Maybe if she would have paid attention then, or listened to people once this all got announced, she would have known what she was getting herself into. She should have known what she was getting herself into. Obviously, she just didn't really care.
I don't know, it just kind of sucks. There's people out here that hate me for promoting a coin. It's like Paris Hilton. I mean, she's got cooking stuff out, like cooking appliances. She didn't sit there and take the time to make them. She's just the face of it.
Yeah.
Those are hers, you know?
So that's pretty much like you with the crypto coin.
Yeah, I was just a spokesperson for it. I mean, they pay you for being a spokesperson for it, but it's not actually your coin, if that makes sense.
No. It's actually not really the same. A celebrity endorsing a shitty product, which apparently Paris Hilton's cookware is pretty shitty, is bad, but it's not as bad as endorsing a scam. One is morally questionable, the other is a federal crime. Not only is it silly to say, hey, other celebrities do shitty things, so I should be allowed to too, it's even sillier to use examples of celebrities doing things that are objectively not as bad as what you did.
It makes me feel really bad that they trusted me and I led them to something that I did not have enough knowledge about. Like, I did not have enough knowledge about crypto to be getting involved with it. And I knew that. But I got talked into it, and I trusted the wrong people. So that screwed me.
Ooh, so close. So, actually, what screwed you was you not knowing enough about crypto and you doing it anyways. You were so close to taking accountability, but of course it has to be somebody else's fault. I feel like this was her one chance to maybe claw back some relevancy. I feel like her taking some more accountability in this video might have changed the general population's opinion on her, but that ship has sailed. And really, that's kind of where the video ends. She talks for a few more minutes about like the whole phase bank stuff, about how she apparently lost access to her Twitter account, and then they just spend a lot of time talking about how she's still adjusting to being famous. Lots of "it wasn't your fault" from the friend. Just 6 or 7 minutes of nothing. Definitely nothing related to what she should be talking about. So yeah, that's really all we got from this quote tell-all, which honestly, pretty much what I expected. No accountability, no sense of responsibility, just a lot of I was tricked into doing this, it was everybody around me's fault instead of mine. I couldn't have been an adult and tried to figure out some of this stuff by myself. What do you expect of me? And fortunately for us, but unfortunately for Haley, I think that mindset is probably going to be what does her in. She likely wasn't going to remain that prominent for that long, just given how she got famous, but disappearing from the internet for a few months and then coming back and saying, look, I'm really the victim here, is probably going to turn off the few people who actually did like to watch her podcast. So, bad day for those people, I guess. Well, guys, what do you think? Where do you stand on all this? Do you think I'm being too harsh? Do you agree with me? Did you see this video and have your opinion changed, or did you think she was guilty from the beginning? Funnily enough, I think she would have been better off not making this video, because I think there are a lot of people like me who thought that she was kind of innocent, that she really didn't know what she was doing, and then she releases this video where she's basically like, yeah, I was going to conventions, I was surrounded by people telling me what was going on, and I just refused to do anything to prevent this from happening. Not sure what she was thinking. She said she spent all this money on PR. You got scammed there too, Haley. Sorry. But yeah, I think this is probably the last we're gonna see of Haley, at least like in a notable way. I'm sure the podcast will keep going. I know she's not like funding it herself. She probably has some sort of deal. But once that contract or whatever runs out, I don't think it looks too good for her. We'll see. See ya.
Boy, I sure do love Bungie. And now that they're leaving Microsoft, they can cast off the corporate chains, make games on their own, and finally, they can be their true selves. Put the shackles back on them.
If my 16-year-old self had seen what Bungie has become today, I wouldn't believe it. And if you told me that in 2025, I'd think Bungie is worse than EA, I'd say, okay, sure, Grandpa, let's get you back to the home. Yet here we are, living in a life beyond reality. Bungie has recently been exposed for some damning plagiarism, and today we're going to be covering Bungie's current reputation, the state of Marathon, just how bad this plagiarism is. So, let's jump into it. Bungie was the first game developer I could attach a face to. When you play video games as a kid, you don't really think about the people behind them. But that all changed with Halo 2 when my mom got a copy of the collector's edition at an auction. And it had a bonus disc with all these extra features like fucking Lord of the Rings. I remember watching those Vidocs and thinking, man, the people who make video games are pretty cool. Now look at me, covering the dastardly deeds of a developer that inspired me. You know, someone at Bungie once told me that Bungie may have left Microsoft, but Microsoft never left them. And I think with each passing day, this statement continues to please Captain Hindsight. This is not the first or last controversy Bungie will ever have, but it seems like one of the worst. What am I talking about? Everyone's favorite subject in high school, plagiarism. You made this? I made this. You see, they're currently rebooting Marathon. Remember that? Seems like one of the worst. What am I? Please, Captain Hindsight. This is not the first or last controversy Bungie will ever have, but it seems like one of the worst. What am I talking about? Everyone's favorite subject in high school, plagiarism. You made this? I made this. You see, they're currently rebooting Marathon. Remember that trilogy of FPS games that came out shortly after Doom, giving Bungie the knowledge to then use that experience on Halo? Recently, they opened the Marathon Alpha up to players, and the reception has been lukewarm at best. Most agree that Bungie's art direction is solid as always. Or is it? But that Marathon's gameplay is somewhat divisive. Extraction shooters are a tough sell, but whether you enjoy Marathon or not isn't the issue. It's the unjustifiable act of a multi-billion-dollar corporation not wanting to pay artists to create art, but instead steal it from others.
I love stealing. I love taking things.
Especially at a time when artists are being screwed over by AI. It feels like pouring salt on a guy's crotch after you kick him in the balls. So this comes to us from user N2, part of Anti-Real, the company that posted all of the art. The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017, the year Destiny 2 came out.
Coincidence? I think not!
Now, as you can see on some of these weapons, This logo is... That's pretty bad. That's... You got caught. You got caught. And you can also see these logos, though very small. They've been reused across multiple assets in Marathon. Yeah, from Marathon homepage, from Marathon press kit, from 2016. Yeah, with receipts and everything. So pretty undeniable. And she continues, Bungie is of course not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade. But clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over the game without pay or attribution. Important to also note, I see that Joseph Cross also follows you. Is there any insight you can give? He followed me for a few years, and a few others from Bungie. Never had any communication. So it would seem the Bungie franchise art director was familiar with the person that some of his employees was stealing art from. The more you look into it, the worse it gets. I'm gonna say that a few times in this video. These comparisons are so blatant. It's more blatant than the kid that tried to steal my Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the 4th grade. It's like, dude, you asked to see my deck, and then you just pulled my secret rare magic cylinder out and slapped it underneath your butt cheeks. I saw you do that. Why? So yeah, Bungie just straight fucking ripped this guy's art. Like you'd rip a fat, nasty fart on an airplane where nobody can escape because you're a terrible human being. Now, I've talked with Zavala, and even he can't defend this. Isn't that right? Guardian, let me just say this. I could offer you 3 guns. I could give you 4 guns. I could go even further beyond and let you hold 5. But Guardian, there's no amount of weapons that can excuse plagiarism. Remember, kids, plagiarism funded 9/11.
Zavala, can you try to be normal for once?
Have you retrieved those pictures of Ikora's feet yet? Now, if you really wanted to cope or simp for Bungie, you'd probably say something like, well, what's the big deal, man? It's just some tiny logos from a random artist. It's not like they're copying a review or something. My friend, the problem with plagiarism is not always how gross or blatant the offense is. It's having to wonder if there's more. When you see a rat scuttling around your house, you don't think to yourself, oh, look, that's just one rat. No, you think, how many Jews are under the floorboards right now? Oh, Jews, I mean, geez, oh God, that came out wrong. I'm canceled for sure.
Go ahead and cancel me, I don't care.
If you're a plagiarist, the goal is to steal someone's work that isn't recognizable or familiar with your work. You hope it's obscure enough that nobody notices or cares. So if Bungie is willing to steal art from one creator, how many others are they stealing from? Is this a repeated pattern of behavior? We'll find out later. I can't even imagine the legal ramifications of releasing a game to the public that has plagiarized assets. If you sell that to people, lawyers help me out in the comments below. Someone get legally on this. I would probably cry myself to sleep for the rest of my life if I ever found out that Zavala's bright blue ass wasn't original. Guardian, I'm not fat, I'm just dummy thick. Zavala, I don't think the cool kids say that anymore. Fuck you, Guardian! The more you look into this plagiarism controversy, the worse it gets. But how bad could it be? I hid loss in my design 6 years ago, and nobody caught on. And, fellas, Marathon has the loss meme in-game.
Son of a bitch! You done fucked it up!
For those looking around, dazed and confused, wondering, what's lost? What is that? The second I put it up on screen, you are gonna know exactly what it is. That's what I thought. The meme is like one of the most reposted images on the internet, to the point where all it takes to represent the comic strip is just like 8 lines. And this is in Marathon. They plagiarized sticks. They plagiarized sticks, man. I love from Marathon Bulletin. Come on, man. Dude, I was scrolling and they did it. They plagiarized sticks, man. I love from Marathon Bulletin. Come on, man. Dude, I was scrolling and they deadass stole this whole dude's portfolio, and even some Bungie devs aren't people follow. This is so heartbreaking. safe to say parody is dead on planet Earth. You just couldn't make Monty Python these days. Reality is simply too absurd. And if that wasn't bad enough, that this person is getting their art stolen, the gaming publication DualShockers is publicly posting fake quotes.
What?
I'm completely floored, she wrote. This is my full-time job. I sell these posters online. They're not obscure. A major company has deemed it necessary to pay a designer to imitate or trace rather than license or commission the work. Insane fake quote, LOL. I am unemployed. That's a double whammy right there. Let's steal your voice and your talent. What is happening? Homie can't catch a break. Do a good thing today and go follow N2 if you still use Twitter. But it doesn't stop there, folks. So I found this thread on Blue Sky, who appears to be another person involved with the art on Anti-Real. I'll link it in the description if you want to read it yourself. But I want to scroll down. I do not need names found on assets to assume that we have been stalked insanely by Joseph A. Cross for a long time. I will close with this. This existed for years. No one in the game industry or films hired anyone. Anti-Real became a Pinterest for these corporate games to claim our hard work as their own, to earn quick money and settle small collaterals. Disgusting. That really sums it up well. I mean, the Bungie of the early 2000s, to think them capable of such a thing is mind-boggling. But this is the kind of thing that happens when greed takes over, and making money and cutting the workforce and saving as much as you possibly can and being the cheapest motherfucker out there. This is the kind of stuff that happens. And that Marathon is going to release an art book. Can we at least call it the art book Anti-Real art book? How the fuck does that work, dog? Anyways, artists are really being treated like shit nowadays. Which reminds me, remember that $8,000 art contest I announced a few months ago? Well, I have finally decided all of the winners, including this pencil drawing of me as Goku. It is gorgeous. Thank you, Folding Solid. And who could forget Dill the Great? That's me and my homie Arbiter, man. Fantastic. He's won $100. And Sad Gore 5088 with his Cowboy Man art. You're all right, boy. I'm still working to pay off all of the different winners. There's a lot of them, including those who got the top 3 spots. So if that video is not available today, you'll see it on Ackman TV, me going through all the fan art submissions in the next couple days. If you want to see more of this fan art or just want to interact with me and the rest of my awesome community, you can join the Discord server, link down below, or join my subreddit. Thank you for your patience. And now, back to the video. Now let's take a look at Bungie's response. They ran an hour-long marathon with 0 gameplay footage while scrubbing the art for plagiarism, as the game's art director offers a personal apology. There is absolutely no excuse for this oversight, Bungie says. So how did this happen? Well, Cross says, it came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of pre-production took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. Cross said that Bungie has reached out to Anti-Real and followed up to ensure we do right by this artist. No exact details on what Bungie intends to do were provided. I want to send my personal apology to Anti-Real, whose work was used in this case. So, at the very least, Bungie has publicly apologized, which, I mean, it's the bare minimum, but it's something. This is one of those colossal fuck-ups that you can't really brush aside and say, oh, it's just an administrative error. Bungie accused of plagiarizing yet again. What? What do you mean yet again? This isn't the first time? Bungie is once again in the plagiarism hot seat. This isn't the first time Bungie or a contractor working with them would allegedly lift another creator's work without permission. In 2023, artist element J21 noticed an uncanny representation of their work used in a cutscene for Destiny 2 Lightfall. You can see this pretty fucking blatant as well. No. Actually, it's completely different. See this triangle? See this triangle on the left? They didn't finish the pyramid. No, it's completely different. Case closed. Last year, Destiny 2 weapon skin featured identical elements of artist Tofu Rabbit's original design from 2015. In both instances, Bungie would agree to pay the artist. Is this just how they run business now? This is a repeated pattern of behavior. I mean, it's only happened 3 times, guys. Give them a break. Now you might be wondering, what does EA have to do with all of this? Not a whole lot, but the point remains that I'm trying. Trying to make is that not even Electronic Arts would do something this egregious. I like bringing up EA whenever other game companies pull some shady shit because EA is like the benchmark of what you expect a greedy, soulless, awful, money-grubbing corporation to do.
Is this good for the player?
They're like every anti-consumer stereotype wrapped up in greedy, some shady shit because EA is like the benchmark of what you expect. Greedy, soulless shit because EA is like the benchmark of what you expect a greedy, soulless, awful, money-grubbing corporation to do.
Is this good for the player?
They're like every anti-consumer stereotype wrapped up into one nice, neat little package. So if EA is somehow able to gain the moral high ground over you, bad look? That's a bad look.
Bad business.
So let's take a look at a plagiarism scandal that EA had back in 2012. Just for comparison, EA responds to Command & Conquer plagiarism claims. Controversial tank designs will not be used in Tiberium Alliance. There were similarities between the designs for Tiberium Alliance's Grinder and Bombard tanks and Warhammer 40k's Bone Cruncher and Baneblade vehicles. Side note, why does Warhammer 40k always have the greatest names for everything? True Nurgle homies, stand up right now. Be recognized in the comments. EA claims that the art depicting the vehicles was released accidentally, and the IP issues have already been resolved with Game Workshop. The artwork was internal EA concept art that was unintentionally released publicly. No Warhammer 40k tanks ever have made an appearance in Command & Conquer, Tiberium Alliances, and never will, an EA representative said. So, the story here is that the scandal has already been resolved by the time the story broke. The story is that there is no longer a story. The issue has been resolved. If you're being charitable to EA, they probably used Warhammer designs as inspiration to base their own designs off of, or maybe they felt a similar aesthetic would work in Command & Conquer. Regardless, the art was leaked. It was internal and it wasn't released as part of a product that people could purchase or play. This makes it way different than what's going on with Bungie because this time it has gone gone through all that people could purchase or play. This makes it way different than what's going on with Bungie, because this time it has gone through all those channels. I think that's an important distinction, and one that's, well, EA got the moral high ground. And this 13-year-old Reddit comment validates what EA said, that they don't see any evidence of the tank on the game's official website. So they're asking, where did this image come from, basically? Now, if we didn't live in a clown world, then this would be the end of the controversy for the video. But the comedy isn't over, ladies and gentlemen. You see, Bungie had the misfortune of planning a promotional stream for Marathon right around the time this accusation broke. And well, chat, you didn't disappoint.
Yeah, we're working on a bunch of stuff, working with Lars's team.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.